Welcome to the Smeth Den Meth Lav. Okay, that's what.
That was too perfect. It was meant to be.
Yeah,
Really.
so that's what people are calling you now, right?
Yeah, or Lav 2.0. But yeah, Meth Lav was the first name DGG liked to call me.
Yeah.
Um,
So how did that start?
Actually, the first time I ever called Destiny, it was the conversation was something about how if a guy invites a girl over for to come over to their house, that the girl should expect that that means the guy wants to have sex, and it's kind of the girl's fault for putting herself in that situation, which I vehemently disagreed with, and I had my own anecdotal experience I wanted to share. That I just thought that was a really wrong and harmful statement to make. So when I go to call him, I had already had him added because I sent him a picture of a blue poodle that reminded me of him when he had blue hair. So I go to call him for the first time, and he's on stream, and he tells his stream that it's Lav calling, which I've watched his content for a few years off and on, but the Lav arc was pretty much like right before that. I think it was like earlier this year, like springtime. Yeah, that whole drama cycle was going on. And then when I came into the orbit, he immediately labeled me as Meth, and as Lav. And then I'm a little bit hyperactive, unmedicated ADHD right now. I go by Catnip because that's kind of like my personality. I'm kind of all over the place, a little erratic. So his chat coined me Meth Lav. I'm the methed out version of Lav, because I'm also a sex worker, to clarify. That's also another overlap that I think they use to like compare us.
Okay. So so you're saying that if a woman invites a guy over to her place, then it's unreasonable for him to expect that she wants to have sex.
Well, if a guy invites a girl over,
And then she
that
is willing to
it
go
doesn't
into his house.
inherently mean sex. Yeah, if she's willing to go into his house, then of course she should expect his narrative and his chat's narrative and the people he was talking to. Of course, a woman should expect, if she's invited over to a guy's house, that means they're gonna have sex.
Yeah, okay.
That was their narrative that I was disagreeing with.
All right. I'm done like clicking shit. Okay, now I can focus on talking to you.
Okay, you're good.
Okay.
You're good.
So yeah, I guess I should maybe say I don't think it matters what my opinion is, because I don't think it's fair to call you Lav 2.0 no matter what. I don't think it's fair to call
it's really weird.
Lav 1.0, you
It's
know what I mean?
dehumanizing, and it's a very much of a thing in that community. Like, if you're compared to Lav, then you're obviously a piece of shit, like
It's totally
femcel, whatever.
It's like I think I might disagree with you to some extent, but that doesn't mean if I disagree with you, I can definitely see your point either in any way. So and it's not unreasonable, you know? So I think that if I was Destiny, I don't know what he said, okay? But if I disagree with you, it's that I want to advocate. It would be because I would want to advocate for women to expect a certain thing in that situation. And you're advocating for them to not need to expect a certain thing. And I mean, I think both of those are, I think you have more of a basis to want that because you're a woman. So like you're saying, as a woman, I don't want to have to expect that there's an expectation of sex when I go meet a guy at his place.
Right.
I think that's more fair for you to posit as a social standard than it is for a man to say, no, you should expect to have sex. But also, right. I can understand saying like, well, she should. It is kind of the norm, so it does make sense that she should sort of expect it. But fuck that too. I get it.
Yeah, so like my anecdotal experience that like really made me have my strong opinion was I can correlate that with like the mindset of somebody who said that they were helping me when I was homeless. I was like on a website called Meet Me, and I was transparent with this guy I was talking to, you know, like, I'm homeless, I'm just getting out of a really bad relationship. I'm not looking for anything romantic. I don't want anything like that. We were on the same page with that, and he told me, you know, you can come to my house and have a place to stay. I can help get you a job. And then when I got there, he's like, we can do these shrooms and, you know, it'll be great. And so I'm there hanging out with him, and yeah, the guy, you know, starts pressuring me into sex. I verbally say no multiple times until it gets to the point where I'm like, I stand up and I'm like, I don't, you know, we agreed that this wasn't what it was. But obviously, he had that expectation that once he got me there, he would be able to convince me. And I think
Yeah.
that's just a really harmful type of mindset to be perpetuating to Destiny's often like young or like audience with a lot of men who don't have a lot of experience with women. I think that's a really
Yeah.
harmful mindset to
As
be
long as you
telling to men who are
Yeah,
like
as long as you
not
get money, you can leverage it, and the money and power, you can find vulnerable women in desperate situations and leverage it to have sex with them or do whatever you want.
right.
Um, yeah,
So
but
yeah, that
so
was I just think the
were they saying that you were taking advantage of him?
there's a lot of various things said in chat. I don't remember what was said
Okay,
in the exact
what was Destiny
conversation.
saying?
I'd have to go back in that. There is a VOD of that. But
Sure. That
he eventually did when I was like explaining my, and this is something that other people in his community told me I should do less of, is less talking about my anecdotal experience. But in that case, I felt like it really did matter. So eventually, after divulging a lot into my anecdotal experience, he's like, oh, okay, I guess, you know, kind of feeling towards that.
Yeah, I don't know. He
Um,
does that just to dismiss, just to be dismissive. He's like, well,
yeah.
he just does it to shut you up. Like he doesn't. It's like he's run out of steam to have like a good, like way, like actual like a lot of his arguments aren't even like good arguments, but rhetorically he'll present them in a good way. He'll use like a twist, but in lieu of any of that, he'll just be like, oh, okay, and he'll just I'm tired. I'm done. You know.
Right. Like the more and more I watch his content, the less I feel like it's meant to be informative, and the more I feel like it's meant to be like purposefully incendiary and just like kind
Yeah.
of divide people further. Um, yeah, and seeing what happened, I've been around long enough to see the Anna videos that were posted and then deleted, and what went on with that. Yeah, and I just think I see major abuses of his platform and not recognizing how much power he has, or maybe he does, and he kind of just like wants people to shit on each other more often.
Yeah.
Um,
I just posted earlier today. I don't talk about Destiny all that much just lately. I mean, I made that video, the Destiny report, but um, I feel like it's like scary. Like Destiny's like scary. So,
yeah.
but early today, I saw him like on Brain Rot Politics, which posts Destiny clips on Twitter.
Mhm.
There was I was having a conversation about Israel and Palestine, and the other guy was like, "Oh, I just don't." He's like, you know, it's like kind of like a meek, like, you know, college kid kind of like voice. I don't know what he was, but you know, it's that kind of boyish voice. And he's like, you know, I just don't see how you can't say that they're an expansionist state. And then Destiny's like, well, it's like if your friend was murdering, I mean killing people, but it turns out that every time he killed 4 people and every time that it was actually self-defense. That's like what you're saying. So really, like, his metaphor was really not to illustrate any type of value or anything, which is what you use a metaphor for. It was just to reframe it as he's just saying, no, it was always self-defense. And then the guy's like, well, it wasn't always self-defense. They've been doing like war crimes and stuff. And then Destiny like completely recanted his self-defense position entirely. That's like off the table now. And he's like, well, war crimes are fine because Iran does war crimes and people are other people in the area do war crimes. So like he's completely, everything he just said doesn't matter anymore. And he's on to a new reason to dismiss whatever it is you're saying. He doesn't have any
Right.
actual principled position. And I think it's fine to have an opinion, but it doesn't sound like he even has one in that case. You know?
Right. Like we did get into a little bit. I didn't do my best in our last conversation, which was the day before yesterday. I initially, because I had been sending him, I have a friend who's from Palestine who actually did a podcast on it. I sent it to him, asking him if he'd listen. I don't think he really listened to it. And I sent him, I believe it was the Birthright Israel website, and I asked him his thoughts on that, and he said based. So initially, what I was going to talk to him about was going to be the Israel-Palestine conflict. But I actually heard him on his stream, which I've heard him say this many other times, to many other people. The first time, it was like, oh, okay, maybe it's a joke, like a comment, like I don't know if you want me to say this on your stream, end yourself, like that, in a very serious way. I was like, okay, maybe that's like meant to be satire, it's ironic, or he's just being a little shitter.
Gamer.
And yeah, gamer. And so when I heard him bring up Lav on a stream and say that Lav should end themselves, I was like, whoa. I know that there's a lot to unpack there. It goes like a lot deeper than just like being gamer moment. So I asked him actually on a one-on-one call, a couple different things, like, and I asked him specifically about that, like, do you really feel like this person should end? And they said, yes, I do. They ruined my fucking life. What do you mean? Of course I do want them to end themselves. And I had asked them about, another streamer, Reckful, on that phone call, because I actually have a connection with Reckful. My partner used to work for them. And I had spoken to them after I saw them on Dr. K because their story touched me, and I just wanted to talk with them about mushrooms and life, and a lot of parts of Byron's life resonated with me. So I did have conversations with them. So I asked Destiny, if he feels like at all this culture that's being perpetuated and created could at all contribute to people who are in, like Byron, in that headspace where they're already like deciding life is too much, to like go online, especially when working online, to see stuff like that. And Destiny said on that phone call with me that he was on his way out regardless, and nothing could have been done to help him, and he was pretty much a lost cause. That sat really uncomfortably with me. That was like about 3 weeks ago now. So I heard him.
That's not true, because Reckful, like, months prior had said that he had gone his longest period ever in his life without any thoughts of suicide, and then it came back and then ended it. But that doesn't, so I don't think it was a foregone thing. And even if it was, just put him in a fucking straitjacket.
Yeah,
like,
there's so many things that could have been done. Like, I think people could have been kinder. I think we could have a better mental health system overall, because I've been to the psych ward. It was not that healing for me, to be honest, and other people that I've talked to also agree. And so, yeah, I was really bothered by that comment. So before my stream with him 2 days ago, right before I got on, as I was like trying to think about the exact points that I wanted to hit on the Israel-Palestine thing, my main thing was going to be to try and send him in the direction of somebody who I think is a good voice on this, Gabor Mate. I think he does.
I love that guy.
Phenomenal. Thank you. Everyone on chat was shitting on him.
He's a little bit like, every time I listen to him talk on YouTube, he kind of says the same things, and he talks really slow.
Yeah.
And so, but I love everything he has to say.
Right, and I actually went to a Minds Meet seminar in Rochester, Minnesota. I got to meet him and Dennis McKenna and this guy Joe Taffer, and it was great. It was amazing. It was a huge, inspiring point in my life, because for me personally, like, mushrooms, I think, helped me get off the streets, helped me a lot with my depression, understand myself, understand my traumas, all of that stuff. So yeah, that was my intention, was to, because Destiny didn't know who the fuck he was. I was gonna try and just have a lighthearted conversation, talk about that. I wasn't gonna confront him live about the him telling people to end themselves thing, except for like 10 minutes before I was gonna go on, he is saying that Hassan Piker and Mike from PA should absolutely end their lives because they're spreading misinformation, and that they would be doing the world a service if they did so.
Look, what you sound like what you have, something that I believe Destiny just doesn't have, and that's passion. And you hear him talk about that, and then you're like, oh shit, and you get this feeling, and you're like, I want to talk about this. And you coming to the topic, even if he stands by the things he says, it should be exciting. It's good content that you disagree. You know what I mean? Like that's meaningful. That's good. But he doesn't want people who disagree. He wants people that he can steamroll. You know, and the smarter you are, and if you're really smart and he can steamroll you, even better. And people that play by the same like playbook, like he could have a debate with like Ben Shapiro, and they would facts and logic everything up. I think Ben Shapiro is passionate about
Facts don't care about your feelings.
Sure.
But I think feelings are an important part of reality that's often neglected, like the demonization of like things that are feminine or emotional. I think that's like a huge issue society can kind of have.
Yeah, I think that all of our beliefs and all of our values come down to just what we feel about shit. And if you don't feel anything about it, then you can just like really most of the time when I hear facts don't care about your feelings, I think it either means I feel different than you, so I want to gaslight you out of your feelings, or it means I feel completely neutral on it and all I know are the facts, and I literally like there you cannot actually divorce yourself of your feelings and your bias on a subject. So for you to say that it either means one of those two things. Either you feel nothing or you disagree and you want to like basically gaslight. By the way I use it, which is a little bit looser than you basically want to gaslight people out of the way they feel. I hate that because but the way you're talking, you don't sound like a moron. You just sound passionate.
He called me a retard. He called me a moron.
You're just
called
passionate.
me everything.
You're just passionate. That's all.
And it's like I think differently than him, which is honestly why I felt the need to immerse myself in DGG, is because I feel like the way that I think, being able to express that and people seeing a different point of view can like both sides can come together and we can birth a whole new beautiful thing. It doesn't have to be like one side has to be wrong. We don't have to steamroll each other, call each other retards, tell each other to end yourself, you know. Yeah. I think that's just when you resort to doing those things, it shows your character and where you're at in the conversation and what your intentions are with it, whether it's to actually have that conversation that's going to build up both sides or your intent is to destroy someone, which you'll see that in a lot of like the language that Destiny uses for his content. Right,
because once the argument, the conflict gets boiled down to the core value disagreements, that's when Destiny just goes, oh, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
Instead of just like, you know, saying, okay, so this is what you think, because that's where I'm like, okay, so I'm gonna sell it like, so look, this is one of the things that people in DGG will arguments that I'll have on fucking Twitter or whatever. It always boils down to, you believe in a comparative morality where war crimes are okay if other people are doing war crimes, and I don't believe that. I just think they're bad, and so that's the difference. Okay, you can believe that. And I believe this. This is what I believe. This is what you believe. And to like even just to define the beliefs and shit like that, they are the Destiny community, I feel, is deprived of any lexicon that is able to respect someone else's core values as different from their own, in a way that you understand that there's no more arguing to be had. You know what I mean?
It was really ironic because he was actually, I paused for a moment before going on his stream to like kind of collect myself and understand the gravity of what confronting that issue that I just described meant would happen to me. Because obviously it's DGG. They're going to be like, oh, you don't like it when people say end yourself? Well, you should end yourself. So before getting on, he was watching a high school debate video. And they were actually pausing in the debate to make sure everyone was okay. And they were saying, like, the point of debate is for everyone to be okay and for us to, like, share ideas. And Destiny scoffed at it and laughed at it. And that was about the time where I called. And I know at some point in the conversation, I was saying, well, maybe they have it more right. Maybe that the point of the debate should be to inform both sides further instead of to tear one side down.
If you don't understand my perspective, like me convincing you is that's not my goal. It's if I can make it so you understand what I value and why that's different, that's the most I could ever hope for. That's the best.
Right. And I do think where like people really like started targeting me with it though, which I can understand what that looks like, but I did feel it was necessary for the way he was responding when I brought up, you know, like his impact of like him calling for people to end themselves and like how that can maybe teach his audience that that's also an acceptable thing to do. When I brought that up, I at first said like, you know, like maybe you can spread misinformation. Do you think it's okay, you know, for you to say these things? Like this person might be factually wrong. Maybe there's a better way to handle it, but like to call for someone to like end their life. And I, you know, had brought up Reckful because of their like nonchalance towards him being brought up the last time on our one-on-one call, to really point out to him that just because you, Destiny, are saying this person is misinformed and they're spreading misinformation and the world would be better off without them, that does not deem that to be true. And that's a very subjective take to have, where a lot of people who are struggling on the edge of like making that decision to not be here anymore can often make themselves believe the world would be a better place without them. Because I've personally been in those states, and like I have my own things going on in real life, but like absolutely when you work online, or when like when I was a younger like 13-year-old 15-year-old on the internet, where the internet was like my safe haven in a way, it affects you. And I actually just looked up the rate for this. About 15% of teens nowadays, youth, report being cyberbullied, and about 13% report making a serious attempt to take their own life. And I live in Colorado, and something that I found out upon moving here was that we are number one in America for youth suicides. And as somebody who attempted suicide as a young person, I think it's really important to rethink how we cultivate online spaces. Because as much as a lot of us don't really want to interact with minors, you have to accept that when things are on YouTube,
you're not asking for much. Right. You're not making like a big, we need to change everything. You're just saying, don't tell people to fucking kill themselves. That's all you're asking.
Yeah. And he doubled and tripled down on his justification with doing that, which then led into the rest of the conversation, which is what he clipped out of context, because he made suggestions like the US mediate the conflict between Israel and Palestine. And I made an ironic statement saying, oh, well, why not Iran or Iraq? And he clipped that, and he's like pointing out how stupid I am for suggesting Iran and Iraq. But I obviously know that's a silly suggestion. That's the joke. That's the joke. It's like, because the U.S. intervening in something where U.S. settlers have been proven to go and take Palestinians' homes is, I don't believe, what's going to resolve that conflict. Yeah, so for a more serious answer, I could give that, but I just,
I'm sure it wasn't
the irony
Destiny.
in his statement.
I'm sure it was someone else that clipped it.
Right.
I'm sure Destiny thought it was funny, or maybe didn't even see it. I don't fucking know.
So the thing is that, like, right before I got on, he was still doing more research, and I felt like, okay, well, he's still researching into this conflict. Maybe if it's better if I talk to him after he's done more research. And I tell him, like, hey, if you're still reading and you need to get to that, we can talk later. And then he tells his stream, actually stream, we're not doing research, I need more YouTube content. And then he's like, you can call. So and that dynamic was really ironic to me as well, where I've heard him like talk about people like Lav, Mr. Girl, Cherry. Now they had a falling out or something. They like as leeches, and put down people with like BPD. He's called people schizo, all kinds of stuff like that. I don't want to be like morality police about how people speak about each other, but for him to portray it as all these people are just leeching off of him, when he obviously would not be as far as he is without taking other people's existence and profiting from it.
And he positions them to be, like, in his words, a leech. Like, he's not treating them as equals, he's treating them as leeches. Like, because you gave him, you were not desperate to get on a stream immediately. You were like, I actually care about the topic, so I want to wait till you're prepared. And he's like, no, it's content time, baby. Let's go.
Yeah.
And so like he's like, no, you're a leech. You're not an intellectual. We're not doing this. You're a leech. You're gonna get on my show, and you're gonna be desperate for the fucking views, and you're gonna freak out, and you're gonna cry, and then I'm gonna have this fucking clips are gonna be made from my community, and it's gonna be fucking baller content. Let's fucking do this.
Yep. And when I tried to, after the content was posted, I asked him, or some of it at least, if we could have a talk to clarify, and he said he's 1,000,000% is that positive that I'm a hardcore abusive person. And if I want to argue on stream for content or whatever, he's always down for that. But otherwise, yeah. So he's no longer willing to talk with me one-on-one after that. He only wants to argue with me for content. So,
can you? Okay, so I didn't watch this.
Mm-hmm.
You told me that I might want to watch it first on my stream.
Right.
But the reason I didn't do that is because I've never done I've never done React content ever.
Right.
I don't think so. And it just would have been, I had another stream I was going to do, and I wanted to get a stream going. So I wanted the content. But could you do devil's advocate and tell me what Destiny, how is why did he say that you're abusive? I'm interested in that. I think
the worst thing that I did, and I actually do regret this, was after him tripling down on justifying calling other people to end their lives, I tried to transition to the topic, to the original point, and I brought up Gabor Mate. And so he was telling me to explain why I think he's valid, something that I've read from one of his books or whatever that I think is valid for the conversation. And I began to go into talking about his life. Gabor Mate was a Holocaust survivor, and then they discredited his audience by saying he wasn't alive during that time and the time period. And I was saying, well, he says he was 5 months old during it, and regardless of that's still that experience. And Destiny was discrediting it, saying that you don't have any cognitive memories formed until they didn't even let me finish what I was trying to say, but he was saying that you don't have cognitive memories formed until you're after 2 years old, so therefore his Holocaust experience wasn't valid. And then the comment that I made that I feel was inappropriate was, which I believe this was also highlighted in the Destiny report, which is why this information was also fresh in my mind, somewhat fresh, was that, when your wife, when your son's mom was pregnant with, your guys' kid, when he was in the belly, I was told when I was pregnant that everything that happens, when you're pregnant, you're supposed to read to your kid, you're supposed to make sure you're eating well, and you're having a least stressful environment as possible, and that everything that happens to the mother affects the child. And so the comment that I made that was probably out of line was that, it sounds like you had a stressful relationship around then, and that might have affected your kid in some way. That doesn't mean that, that is I get that. But I was very frustrated that he
toxic. Everybody gets like that. I mean, sure, that's shitty, but I mean, I do stuff like that, and Destiny sure as fuck gets like that. So
right, I've heard him that make so many low blows. He would,
it's not that bad.
I disagree with what Hassan has said a lot, right? But I would never ever call for him to take his own life. That is extreme for me. And so I think I was feeling on behalf of that, how much that is poisoning the well of us getting anything resolved.
I feel like Gabor Mate probably would the dismissal that, oh, you don't have cognitive memories and shit until you're 2. He'd be like, oh yeah, you don't. But you're saying
life shapes you.
There's more
everything
to
that's
it.
happening around you.
Yeah,
your parents, what happened to them?
Let me do my Gabor Mate voice. So when you're, I can't do it. When you're in your mother's womb, and she gets stressed, you get stressed because her body is chemically altered, and it's in a state of stress and panic and trauma. And that trauma is transferred through her whole body. Every cell of her body is now altered in a way, and you are part of that.
Yes, exactly. And generational trauma and just
Yeah.
like
You've fucking
everything
had
that accounts for it.
if you're 5 months old when you're in and your parents is in a concentration camp or something, that parent is gonna be a worse parent. Like it's not like you can like it's just gonna your life's not gonna be as good.
Right. Yeah, and that was just something he very much wanted to like fact check that, and he was fact checking it, and I was like, well, saying like, I guess my doctor told me wrong because I have a 5-year-old kid, and like when I was pregnant, they very much made it clear how important it was to take care of yourself and to like know that everything affects the baby. So
I just got $5. Someone said,
Ayo.
hey Smeth, put this towards your new genius hat. Tryptamine, at some point I'd like to hear your side of the story if Ava or Smeth want to bring you on. I'd be down to talk to Tryptamine. This is drama shit. Like this is I don't know if you're even familiar. So sorry, I got a little bit derailed.
No, you're
money,
good.
I like money. So,
Money's good.
Yeah, it does that.
I guess I could play devil's advocate a little further.
Okay.
Destiny was refusing to acknowledge in any way that like any amount of online hatred could have contributed towards Byron's mental state whatsoever, that he was already like fucked, right? So I was asking Destiny if he would play this clip of Byron, who I can send you the clip. It's him directly communicating with his audience. Someone says in chat, you know, like, end yourself. And he's like saying like, do you really feel this way? And he's like empathizing with them. And he's like, I want you to know that that comment really hurts me. That really deeply affects me. And yeah, I asked him to play that. And then so he was like sending the narrative to his audience that I was just trying to twist the knife and like leech or like use Byron's death against him or something. I'm not trying to do like I know Mr. Girl had their whole thing with Dr. K and all that stuff. I was around for some of that, but that's not what I'm trying to do. I'm not like blaming Destiny. I'm not blaming any one person, any one thing, but just to learn from people's deaths and you're look at the community, look at what's the bigger scale.
Yeah. It doesn't sound like you went into this trying to like dunk on Destiny. It sounds like you actually care about what you're talking about. There's a difference, and I think Destiny so rarely goes into something actually caring about what he talks about. And if he does actually care, I think he's still fixated on the dunk.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's really what it felt like. And I think towards the end of his stream, I like hung up on him and I kind of made a little joke because there's this whole 15-2 thing with Cherry about how apparently Cherry made him come 15 times, but he only made her come 2 times. So I did a little joke, hung up the call, and I was just like really feeling, yeah, just like everything, because I've been around a lot of suicide, and I myself have been suicidal, especially over the pandemic. That's like rebirthed itself for me. This stuff got really hard there for a bit. I've been doing content creation off and on since I was 13, so I very much see the correlation of how much like my other stuff impacts me and how much the online stuff does. And it's like hard to say which is more, but for me, I very much think it's something that's important to talk about, because when we really get to the vulnerability of it instead of like the gotcha of it, like how we're treating each other, and if that's how we really want to be treated and what we want to see. Like for me, I have a kid. I don't want my kid to like grow up and like get in a COD lobby and just get told to end himself, and that's just gamer culture. I don't really think it should or has to be like that. So I, you know, after he's like, oh God, she's crying, because I went on my stream and I played the video of Byron pleading with his audience, because I felt like it's an important one to see, honestly.
Okay, let me be Destiny. So that's just the way it is. This is how people are, and if you can't handle it, then you're just destined to kill yourself.
Yeah, that's fucked.
Yeah.
It's so fucked, and I don't believe
We
like
can
growing
grow.
up
We
on
can
the
grow.
internet, right?
We can grow.
Right,
The
right, right,
internet is
right.
new. The internet used to be even worse, and now it's
I used to
worse.
have dial-up as a kid. That
It's
was
worse in
way
some ways
different.
now, and it's better in some ways now.
Hmm.
But that like the ways it's gotten worse and better are not because of people growing. It's because of liability and like companies. They've made it both worse and better. Like the way fucking social media works has made it so that crazy shit gets to the front, which makes it worse. But also, like now you can't do death threats. It's worse and better, but people are not really doing a good job of growing. And
I think it's the normalization of things are the way they are because they are.
yeah,
But
well,
I
that's well, if
having
you're making money from doing that, then
yeah.
that's of course you're gonna fucking say that. And maybe I start making money from saying the opposite. Of course, I'm gonna say that. So then I'm gonna need Lav 3.0 to come in and give me some criticism.
Yeah, I got a big, long, like 6-point essay from Destiny's top schizo poster, Scribble, about how I should call him a retard back. I should fight back, and I should not ever bring up his personal things again, and I should do this and conduct myself this way. And that the thing I did about bringing up his wife or his ex-wife or dad's or kid's mom was evil, that was an evil thing to do. But I very much felt like with how unempathetic he was being, that some sort of like personal reference was important to make.
Yeah, like I'm talking about myself. I want to talk about you. We're talking about me. We're making this human. That's I didn't watch it. Maybe you were being crazy or not crazy, but toxic. But
Mixed
I don't think
reviews.
you're
I'm not sure
crazy
either.
either way. But yeah, that
But
makes sense to me as something to do.
yeah, and I mean, I'm not he does this like every day, right? Like goes on stream, argues with people. I'm not well versed in that. I've been an
You're
adult
good.
content creator
You're
since I
good
was
talking.
19.
You're good at talking.
Thank you. I've practiced on my stream full of mostly people who want to see good in me and want to understand me. But in environments where it's people who are going to purposefully misunderstand me because it's funny and clickable, I kind of I don't conduct myself ideally. I'm much further along than I used to be because when the bad stuff that was happening to me when I was a teenager, I was not able to speak up about it, and I just kind of let it happen, and I convinced myself that's just how things are. But as a 27-year-old woman now, having the experiences that I did, getting to meet Gabor Mate in person and other people like him, and really seeing other people represent that things don't have to just be the way that they are. We actually are all active actors in being able to change that and create a world that makes more sense to us, that welcomes people who are sensitive instead of convinces people with sensitivities that they're just pussies and they just need to get over
Yeah,
it.
me being
Be that
abusive
way.
to you, maybe you're like a stick of butter, and me like driving nails into you is gonna mean exactly what you need to fucking harden you up, butter boy.
Yeah.
So I don't
Yeah, I
think
don't
we're
agree with
talking
that.
because you had a disagreement with Destiny. I think we're talking because of how he framed you. And did you say like you cried?
Yeah,
Like,
so I went I was because I wasn't gonna stream or anything. I was just gonna hop in and have a conversation with him until he said the point where he was like, "I need more YouTube content." So I'm like, if that's how he's treating the interaction, then I might as well stream it. So after hanging up on him, I went back on my stream. I played that video of Byron pleading with his audience to have empathy, and I cried, and I got floods of comments saying to kill myself, how disgusting it was that I brought up Byron, ugly, whatever, you could use your imagination, horrible comment. The chat was moving very fast. When he ended his stream, he's like, "Oh god, she's crying. Don't go harass her or anything." He rated someone else, but then my room instantly got like 3,500 people. And
yeah,
a
I
lot of
think the
comments.
best thing that he could do would be to not say, "Oh God, she's crying," or
Yeah,
anything. I mean,
yeah.
like, yeah,
But it is what it is. I got off stream, decompressed,
like
cried a little bit with my partner,
the
who also
way
worked for Byron, knew Byron. We were talking about it because a lot of people portrayed it as I was just bringing up a random streamer as a gotcha, but I actually did talk to him. My partner worked for him, and that's how me and my partner met, was in Dr. K after Byron ended his life. So it is very important to me.
you don't need to justify yourself to me.
Sorry
But
to
maybe
to the audience
yes,
saying that I'm
yeah.
using it
But
as
I
like
just
a
hate hearing you
thing
have
that's
to do
horrible,
it.
and I wouldn't
I
do
hate
that.
hearing you have to justify yourself. Like, even if you weren't, but you are. Like, you do have this connection to him. But even if you didn't, you were sad. It affected you.
Yeah, like Etika affected me. You know, Chester Bennington, Robin Williams. Like I've been suicidal since I was young. Like every time someone decides that, it affects
You're
me,
doing it
even if I
again.
don't know them
Like, you
personally.
don't even. I don't.
I'm
Maybe
sorry.
they. No. Maybe they need this, and maybe you're right.
Yeah,
But I hate hearing it. Like, it's not fair that you would have to
those
justify
voices are just
yourself.
so loud where it's like you can't be sad over this, you can't feel this. You crying is you being
Yeah.
manipulative. Like you expressing human emotions is you being evil. Like it's such a
Yeah.
fucking like harsh thing to hear. Like when for a long time I did shut off my emotions, I wouldn't allow myself to feel things. But when I realized like me allowing myself to feel things actually is me healing, like getting that reaction from people is like
It's not only
it's
is it
sad to me,
healing.
honestly, that a lot of people feel that that is that. But
Okay, well,
that's
I have something to say.
yeah.
Okay, so that's all destiny, okay? But
Mhm.
you crying and you having genuine emotions and going through them on stream, and exposing yourself to that destiny community with GGG, all that exposing yourself to that is gonna hurt you. But I do think that just being vulnerable and genuine and stuff on the internet has a good effect on people. Like
I agree.
those people that are talking shit about you, those people, in the words of Destiny, maybe like they were already far gone, or like maybe it'll like they get that into them, like they've seen it. Like, there's only how long can you go? I feel like most of them are young. How long can how long can you go in your life? Like, how many people can you watch cry and then like shit on them and like then just become enraged at it and like and hate them? How much can you do that before eventually you start cracking at the seams? You know.
Right.
But that's not neither here nor there. If they weren't in the picture, I think that would just be a totally different type of experience with your content. I don't think that you would get, depending on like what kind of community you grow. Like if Gabriel Mate was like, I don't think he has a YouTube channel, but if he had a community and he cried
Yes.
like that on his stream, he wouldn't get that kind of fucking response. You know, like
Right.
he maybe some of them, like some comments, but like he would have a community where like of people that actually are interested in what he's doing.
Right.
I
I
think
just see a lot of like say like Destiny's sphere of the internet that like they haven't even heard of people like that. So I think that's like my
it's
like
gay.
having
It's
been
gay.
involved so much in gamer culture like since I was young and experiencing like the worst sides of it, but then seeing the better sides of the internet and the better sides of humanity, it's like part of me wants to bring that back and share it
Yeah.
because
There's not
we don't
enough. There's
have
not
to
a lot
just
of it. There's not a lot of
yeah.
it, and the streaming is like a hierarchy of snakes, and like to get to the top, you gotta be like a snake, and
That's the sad part that has pushed me off for streaming. For I've taken such long breaks, and I've like even like decided at certain points like I don't want to do YouTube at all because I would see like the people at the top are really the people who are willing to step on others to get there a lot of the time.
and the
And
algorithm, just like losing a soul, become like the algorithm becomes your personality. Like Mr. Beast, he's
yeah,
not. If a human resembled AI, like it would be him. Like he just his facial expressions, everything about him is just as if it was an AI streamer, or it's like,
right. It's so over polished and like very clickbaity, like
yeah,
yeah, and that was another thing with the seeing the YouTube video of me posted today was yeah, I don't think my name was in there at all until I said something. It was like insane leftist tries to destroy Destiny with a TikTok. I wasn't credited, didn't use my name. And it's like I get that, you know, for one, I'm not even a leftist. I just think war
Okay.
is fucked.
Okay. There's so much. Okay. So yes.
I don't know.
So when I posted that thing on Twitter earlier, and then someone was like referred to me as a Hassan fan. I'm like not
Right.
at a Hassan fan at all. It's coded language to dismiss you and put you into a category of people. And there, at some point there was like a joke DGG. I don't know if they've finished it. I've not been paying attention, but DGG like Reddit where they actually like wrote the language like a Hassan fan, a leftist, a like these words have like a meaning to like categorize you as like a crazy person and shit like that. Looping like a lot of like looping is usually like occurs when you just have a passionate, principled position,
Or they've ignored your point.
and then they
like,
keep trying
even-
to like tell you like logic you out of your feelings, and then you just say no, but I feel this way, and it's like, you can either acknowledge this. This is a conflict that you can't like forcibly resolve between us, or like you can. I mean, you can keep trying, but I'm a brick wall on this. No, it's you're the problem. Like you need to make me win. Unless I can crack down your brick wall. Okay, something you
The
said
moment-
earlier. Wait, hold on. I'm
It's
sorry.
okay.
Okay, something you said earlier I wanted to touch on. So
Mm-hmm.
so Destiny watches you like, or I don't know if he watched you cry or if someone told him about it.
Mm-hmm.
But the way that, because I literally just earlier today I saw I briefly had Sam Hyde stream on in the background while I was driving, and Sam Hyde is like, he's a fucking, like extreme guy, but even him, he's so much more responsible than Destiny, because he brought up someone he wanted to use as an example of an attitude that on the internet, like a clout hungry, where you don't really have any, or don't even think that you're talented anyway, so you're just, I'll do anything for fame, and he was talking about like that's like a rising thing, and he was making a point, and he thought of a specific person, and they brought this person up, and then immediately he's like, wait, there's nothing wrong with this person, like this person deserves all your respect, like just, and he said that to his audience because he didn't want to send a fucking wave of fucking shit at them,
Right.
and like, so he made sure to tell his audience that this person is worthy of your respect. They're like dude, Sam Hyde, I don't know if he's like anti-Semitic and shit, but like sometimes he gets to me. I think there's something underneath him, underneath that tough man thing he's got going on.
Yeah, I'm not too familiar with him. I definitely have seen some things, but there does seem to be like some morality, like that house streaming thing he had going on. He kicked someone out for doing creepy things with kids at camp or something, and he was like very adamant, like that is a bad thing. So yeah, I don't know. I'm not too familiar with
It's
Sam
not. It's
Hyde.
my point isn't about Sam Hyde. I'm just saying that the way that you should do it is what Destiny should have said is, oh, she's crying. Look, like she's clearly very passionate about this. She's emotional. Like there's no, like, she's deserving of like all respect. Or he's just like, don't harass her by, she's crying. Oh God, don't harass her. Fuck. And
it was interesting because immediately after, like, the stream had barely ended, and there was already like, the clip taken, the what was it, Brain Rot Politics had already like posted. He kind of subtweeted about me being a crybaby, I think.
I hate that term. I hate that term so much.
Yeah, and so I thought it was ironic, and so did some of the people commenting, because like pointing out like Israel and like the way Destiny can be sometimes, like it's not immune to that like crybaby kind of like mindset. Especially with the whole Lav Anna thing, like he's really like saying like they're out to get me, they're ruining my life, without taking accountability how he did kind of direct harassment towards them and use his platform to humiliate them and make them feel small or crazy, which was another thing I wanted to bring up, was how he will like use BPD or schizo, and he'll like put people down with those terms.
Oh my God.
But I actually called him out. He got really triggered by this. I was like, are you sure you don't have BPD, Destiny? And then he's like, of course, everyone with BPD thinks everyone else has BPD. But the thing is about the DSM,
the thing is everybody has BPD.
It needs a lot of rework.
Everybody has BPD. BPD. Okay, BPD. Okay. And this is pretty I think I'm pretty right about this. BPD is, as far as personality disorders go, the most complex of all of them by far. And that's because for every BPD person, every BPD person will look different than every other BPD person, because it's like brown. There are more browns than there are reds, than there are yellows, than there are blues, because brown is a mucky combination of a bunch of other colors. And similarly, BPD is that, like, you can pathologize about the causes and stuff of BPD, but the actual, like, constellation of symptoms and stuff will, like, the BPD people will have some narcissistic tendencies or some psychotic
Same with
tendencies.
autism.
Yeah, and so it's a clusterfuck, because compared to all the other personality disorders, it so rarely is consistent between different people. So and also BPD is, like, easier to get and easier to get rid of, and very strongly correlated with trauma, like, at various points in your life. And I just think everybody has BPD or has had, like, been BPD at some moment.
Yeah.
Like, and yeah, I
There's
just, I
so
hate
much
it.
overlap with PTSD, and it's like
Yeah.
the like using it like a slur, I think, is so reductive, because it's like, okay, well, these people with BPD are bothering you because of their BPD and the way they're conducting themselves. The suicide rate of people with BPD, like the life expectancy, the suicide rate is high, and the life expectancy is somewhere in your 30s for people with BPD, because I think overall our society has been structured, especially in the West, to put people down for struggling, for having mental
Right.
illness, for not pulling yourself up by your bootstraps and just, like, getting better.
Yeah,
But it's like,
someone,
it's how you're treated that affects the illness. If people continue treating you like a piece of shit, your BPD might get worse.
Yeah, there's also a thing with, like, most, like, 50% of women could be diagnosed with it or something. But so the thing, like, I said this, I think, to Brittany Simon, but, like, I don't think that we should be talking about BPD because it lets off the hook the actual problem, which is how we treat women in a lot of cases. But if I meet somebody that is, like, acting a fool or something, and I think that they're mentally unwell, my response isn't to be like, fuck this BPD piece of shit. No,
of course that's gonna escalate.
No, I mean, like, my response, I mean, emotionally, that's not even, like, my response. My response is, oh, fuck, like, this person's fucked. Like that makes me sad. It doesn't make me, like, you know, like, if I think that you're a traumatized person or something, and that, like, it means that I have now a burden of, like, responsibility to not fucking, like, so let's say that you are as crazy as Destiny may or may not have painted you in this conversation, and you're cry bullying me, like, in the middle of my sentence, just to shut me up. You just start crying or something, some fucking crazy bullshit.
I did not cry on his stream. I saved it until I left.
I have so much to say about that whole cry bullying thing. Okay, but let's say that you are clearly mentally unwell, which I don't think you are. My response is gonna be to try to pull way back away from any boundaries you have. It's going to be to try to, like maybe end a stream. Maybe I'll ask you about it after. I'm not gonna come fucking push you on something. I don't want to like hurt you anymore. I don't want to make content out of BPD people. You know, I don't want to trigger people and shit. If you are gonna call people out for BPD, and then you're gonna build your career off of triggering people with BPD, like, I mean, you should fucking love them. You should love them. You should fucking love them. You should cherish them. You should remind people of how important they are to you. You know what I fucking mean? Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
But okay, pry bullying. Okay, just crying because you're passionate about something. That, like, we do, okay, all crying, it does exist. The reason that we learn to cry, we are instinctually cry as a baby, is to get people's attention, okay? And that is the kernel that people rely on when they call things cry bullying. And
yeah, someone made a comment about their toddler cry bullies them every day, and I thought that was really funny, because I've had a toddler. You know, that's kind of how kids act too. Like,
yeah, that's why we all cry, because we need something, like we're sad, we're hurt, something. That's just what crying is. And cry bullying, though, implies like a psychotic intent. That doesn't make any sense to me. Okay, so there are certain personality types that are impulsively emotional in a manipulative way. So maybe you impulsively become very sad to get your way. Even if that's the case, you actually are sad. So it's not a dismissal. Yeah. It's not a dismissal of your emotions.
It does mean processed since it happened and talked with friends about. I'm like, should I address this? Should I not? It was a huge conflict for me whether or not I even bring it up because I know how that would look to some people.
I'm not saying this is you. I'm trying to just say cry bullying in general. So even if that's like the worst case scenario, right, where somebody like impulsively becomes extremely sad just because they need to get control over you. That's the, like, that person is still actually sad and they're fucked, you know, like they need help. They actually do need help.
Yeah.
But I don't even think that that's the implication of cry bullying. It's more of a psychotic implication where it's like you're intentionally using crying to control me. Like you don't even like feel that way. Your emotions are, I don't even believe that you're sad. And those people, like psychopaths, genuine psychopaths, are like very few and far between. And there are better ways of doing that if you were a psychopath. That, like, if you were a psychopath, crying makes you lose power too. So like psychopaths rarely would do that. What a psychopath would do if they were going to cry bully is, so as soon as they can't get their way in the argument and they have no more maneuvers left, they may be like, oh, okay, anything else? Right. You've made me sad. You've bored me. I think that's cry bullying because he's signaling that he's sad with the way this has gone. He's bored with it. You're just not good enough for him. You need to, once he does that voice, you need to prove that you deserve his time. Look, you're a leech. You need to prove to me. You need to give me some fucking better content, or else you're out of here. That's the implication that he's telling you. That is cry bullying.
Painting me as mentally ill, and me doing what I did, bringing up what I did with like malicious intent, him painting that narrative, or allowing that narrative to perpetuate. And then when I ask him, can I clarify? Can we talk about this? And he's like, only on stream. So it's clear that he wants that narrative to persist. And I heard people tell me he called me Lav 2.0 when the stream ended. It's clear that he wants that narrative to perpetuate, that I'm just crazy. Rather than like having that clarifying conversation to, like I'm talking to you right now, to explain what my intentions are in a less heated, high intensity, high pressure situation. Because I'm well aware that me allowing myself to express emotion, like cry on stream, is going to look bad for DGG. They're going to feel that is manipulative. I've been in situations that you have to think about that with my family members, with past relationships, where me showing my emotions, they would tell me that was manipulative, but it was authentic to me. And I think there are certain people who they're at a certain level of narcissism, mental illness, BPD, whatever it is that they project onto others, they're probably also struggling with themselves. They're so cut off from their emotions that them seeing other people display emotions has to be manipulative for them. They have to like push against that and retreat from it, because that would mean they need to display some sort of empathy or like humanize them in some way. So I think it's easier for those types of people to be like, oh, well, they're just malicious anyways.
I think that
Let's make assumptions about them.
If I was going to pathologize them, I would diagnose them. If I'm pathologizing and diagnosing, I'm not for this type of thing. But that personality, if we're saying that is a personality flaw, I think that it would be closer to BPD, because I think that they would what they would be doing for the most part is they would be offloading their emotional processing to their perception of destiny, and rather than processing it themselves. So how I feel about it, how do I feel about it? Okay, I'm not sure how I feel about it, so I need to think about how someone else feels about it, and that's going to be how I process it. And that's kind of how I think usually BPD works because you are unable to process something yourself, so you offload it to someone else. That's why BPD people are so attracted to narcissists, because narcissists want that. They give that to you in a platter.
Right.
Lav 2.0. Do you like, so you only had this one talk with him?
I had one talk earlier in the like spring. And then I actually went to Miami in May, and there was talk about us maybe meeting up. This is another thing he did after the stream that he knowingly misrepresented. I was with a couple friends of mine who, they weren't huge fans of him. I was gonna go eat with him, and I, was wondering if they'd want to go with. And then one of my friends had the suggestion, well, only if he pays. And I'm like, I guess I could throw that out there. And then she said to like send a picture and say that. And so I did. And I told him after the fact, because he mentioned it on his stream, that like he was talking about like someone paying for dinner. And I clarified to him like, hey, that was a friend of mine that made that comment. I'm not rich or anything, but I'd love to take you out to coffee sometime. I'm not trying to like, that's not what I'm trying to do. It was a suggestion of a friend of mine that went, that I went along with, that I said, but it wasn't like truly how I felt. He said, oh, don't worry about it, you're fine. And then after the fact of the stream the other day, he re-said that, and he's like, you remember that person I was talking about that one time about me buying dinner for them? Oh yeah, that was her, LOL. And someone was like, oh, did you take her out? Did you take them out? And he's like, no, LOL. He's just making just another thing to like add on to it that he's knowingly misrepresenting, because he told me it was okay, but it's just another thing to kind of push that narrative.
Hold on. When you say misrepresenting, when you say misrepresenting, you're assuming he's actually a psychopath. Maybe he actually feels the way he does.
I'm not assuming he's a psychopath.
It necessitates it. It necessitates that to be the truth. He could genuinely, he could have been lying when he said that. He could have emotionally felt, oh, this fucking gold digging fucking, you know what I mean? But just said, oh no, it's fine. Yeah,
and I even said after, like, once I'm a famous corn star, I'd love to take you and Melina out, make it rain on you guys. Did you say corn? Corn star, yes, I did. That's what I said in the DM, so I'll say it again out loud. Okay. But that's what I do for work, and I make a good living, but not like crazy, not like Destiny. I don't like make content about other people and like get clicks and all that stuff. I could do better with that if I want to go that route. But it's not really what I've been doing. But yeah, I did, like, when I started talking to Destiny after that first stream, I was like, oh, maybe we made some progress, Like, maybe this is a good trajectory. Maybe us talking is actually going to, like,
that really reeks of the whole Destiny report thing, where the power dynamic is then, like, he's the wind under your wings. I don't know how well the Destiny report articulated that, but that's Max's point, that he becomes the wind under your wings, and you're like, you're empowered.
I think I have a screenshot from him saying, after I said, thanks for having me on or something, he said, anytime, babe, in all caps. And me and my partner.
All caps.
Funny. Yeah. So it went from anytime, babe, to I'm 1,000,000% sure you're an abusive person, and I'll only talk to you on stream for content.
I've met people that I'm 1,000,000% sure are abusive people. And I would say that I'm like 5% sure that I think that if I was in a I think if we were in a relationship, you would abuse me 5% of the time. It's pretty normal. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'd probably abuse you 15% of the time.
Did.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's something I've been straying away from, like with my mental health journey and like healing my trauma, is not labeling people as this person is an abusive person, but like this thing that they did is abusive. And I'm not okay with that. And this thing that I did was abusive, and I'm not okay with that either.
Yeah, we all are abusive. We actually all are abusive. And that's something I've said a lot that people fucking hate. Because that takes away the power of the word meaning of the word abuse. No, it means we're going one level deeper, where we can have self-analysis, and it's not black and white. We're just saying this person's abuser, this person's not abuser. No, we all actually do these abusive things. Some people just do it to the point where it needs to be legally intervened. But if we want to actually make the world a better place, make our lives a better place, make the people's around us lives better, then we should actually have some fucking introspection.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I completely agree. And as well as like, that's, I think I said in Brittany Simon's stream when you guys were talking, I don't like to label people as narcissists, even though they've behaved very narcissistically towards me. Because I just see it so often for that narrative of you need to cut all of the narcissists out of your life, cut all the toxicity out of your life. For that to exist, that for me was a very lonely life. And a lot of introspection about my own flaws, and then really realizing, like, who are the people who are willing to work on these things with me, like in a relationship, in a friendship, whatever that is. Because none of us are perfect.
The way I see it at this moment, I think that narcissist is a true thing that might be overdiagnosed, and people might be overdiagnosing it to other people. But I've been listening to I've been listening to a lot of this I fucking forget his name. Sam Vatkin, and he himself is like a narcissist, and he's convinced me that there is he's really mapped out a specific pathology and how it develops, and like what it is, and it's like a lack of a central personality where you get all of your self-image from how other people like perceive you, and that's because of your relationship with your mother. And I could go into it, but but he has also said that everybody has healthy narcissism within them. And everybody has narcissism. That's natural. A narcissist is somebody that the part that isn't the narcissism gets completely drowned and blown into a billion pieces in a dissociative way, where now they don't know who they are except for the narcissism space. But I think that a reason I'm saying that in response to what you just said is I think that there are some people that I think you do have to remove from your life. It doesn't mean that they can't get better, maybe potentially. Like I think Sam Vatkin's wrong about that. He says he can't get better because he's a fucking coward. Okay, that's what I think about that guy. I think he's too scared. He can't
get better.
Yeah, he said that he refers to the narcissism as the false self, and he says his true self, which is synonymous with vulnerability, is so obliterated and far gone and dissociated and dismantled into a million different pieces that he has no sense of it whatsoever, and he only feels like a shell where he's only feels like a reactive thing that is constantly looking for someone to become the perfect image of his mother so that he can realize that they're not imperfect and then shut them down. And in doing that, then he feels like he is an individual for a brief moment until that movement goes away. And then he realizes he's not an individual anymore, and he keeps doing it.
Control.
Yeah. I'm glad that sort of makes sense to you. Because
so when you said that about the part about like the true self like being blown up into different pieces, that reminds me of a lot of things people reference in like a lot of spiritual healing circles is like parts work. It's like taking those fragmented parts of self that were blown apart during the trauma and working on putting those parts of self back together and reintegrating that into who you are.
He says that narcissism is a dissociative disorder. So you are completely dissociated from yourself. So in that very extreme pathologized view, I can't see that as something like if somebody actually is that's dangerous. They because the only way that they can function is hurtful to you. But I think that most people that display narcissism and narcissistic traits aren't that, you know?
Right. It can be kind of like a coping mechanism. Do you know about the streamer Mizkif?
Yeah.
Some of the controversies he's been in through, just kind of like roughly. I don't know everything, but I've seen some of it. He had Dr. K over 2 weeks ago, and they were doing a talk. And one of the things at the beginning of the talk was Dr. K was talking about kind of the necessity for streamers to become narcissistic. and yeah, how that plays out. And yeah, and even in that, and that was a huge reason why I felt the need to bring up that thing with Destiny once I heard him say it again and again, is like Mizkif was even saying on that, like, you think Mizkif's like the funny guy, the clown, whatever. And a lot of people were, you know, like holding him accountable for ways that he might have fucked up. But he was saying on that interview with Dr. K recently, he couldn't close his eyes without thinking about ending his life. And yeah, I'm like a much smaller scale content creator than Miz or Destiny or Reckful was, but to the degree that I know in which that actually feels like, it's not, yeah, I don't know, it's not a great place to be. And to normalize because Miz has fucked up in this way or that way that he should probably not be here anymore is really, really harmful.
No. For him to grow would be big, you know, for everybody. Like,
right.
I see him, when I think of Mizkif, the reason I smile is because, like, basically in my mind, he kind of holds the position of ass clown. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and he's surrounded by toys. He's like a big baby. But yeah, like, I can totally see why he would feel that way, and I can totally, I can really feel that, being trapped in that narcissistic kind of attitude or image, that it really is kind of narcissistic if he doesn't know, because it's easy for me to say that what he should do is just do something genuine, be yourself, and don't, because you have enough viewers, you could just do something, like, do whatever, you don't have to be an ass clown anymore, you can do whatever. But for me to say that, like, that's easy for me to say because I'm not dealing with I think he doesn't know how anymore.
Yeah, we haven't so much built ourselves into be that person we're not. We're pretty, I've seen your content, what I've seen of it so far, like, you're kind of funny sometimes, but you seem pretty authentic for the most part. Like, you're talking about things that
that's what I want to do.
Yeah, me too.
There's not a lot of that.
Yeah, because it's like, I watched too, like, you know, when Hassan first started streaming, the whole Raj show, all of that, and I thought about going on there myself, but it was like that whole culture of like how they were like purposefully amping themselves up and like putting each other down because that's like the point of the show. Yeah, and that's like where Miz like started to take off, was in that era. A lot of people started to take off in that era. Cutie Cinderella, and yeah, I know Cutie Cinderella has talked a lot about the negative effects of streaming too, and I think, yeah, being that level of fame that's like built off of somebody that's not authentically who you are can be like a severe imposter syndrome.
You're building yourself into a shell.
Yeah.
And yeah, I want to see them. I want to see Mr. Beast crack. I want to see the little shriveled man on the inside, you know? I want to see what's left.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy because some people, like, yeah, I just can't imagine that level of, like, being a monolith in the, because I've seen Mr. Beast content, and, like, he does some incredible things. He spends a lot of money on, like, philanthropy and stuff like that, but just the tonality, I guess, of his videos, like, we're fixing people's blindness so they can go back to work.
Yeah, and then in that video, he has a shot with a drone with a bunch of people surrounding him and his arms out like this, like he's Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah,
it's not like, so if say you're blind and I fix your blindness, and then we have this stream, and then we cry about it or something, like, that's not what he's doing. You know what I mean? Like, he's doing like TikToker levels of like $1, pass it to the next guy for double it, you know, like, and it's so detached, and also I think that, like, I don't like the philanthropy thing. Like, it's just, it's an easy way to there's always people that are suffering, and you can make content out of it. And it's a good equation, or like a good system. Like, oh, like, I give you the thing that you need the most, and then you become my fucking content. It's not, I don't like it. There's something creepy about that.
I think it could be done more sustainably too, and just like it's something that impacts people more. Like, say, like, Mr. Beast builds a village for the homeless and teaches them all how to like start their own YouTube channel or something. Like, that's like a
If he
sustainable
was more,
means
if he
for
was
them
more
to-
involved, if he could do a
Yeah.
documentary going to a fucking like village in Africa, building houses with them or something. Like I don't know, he could do like
Yeah.
that would be more human, you know?
Right. Yeah, it's more of like game show vibe.
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
that's
yeah,
what
yeah,
he's
yeah.
going for, yeah.
'Cause
Like the leader of a game show.
The people that he does it to, they don't feel like even people, you know?
Mm. Yeah, like the recent one that I was watching, I think it was like a game show, and it was just like a friend of his, and I was like, how does he pick these people? Because it just seemed like a friend of his who won like the 200,000 or whatever it was gonna be. And I was just like really thinking like, man, if there was like a list where people could sign up, like, hey, I'm really struggling right now, like I could really use a Mr. Beast game show to like make it so me and my family's not homeless. I would like to see something like that from him.
No, I don't want to see that.
You don't?
Okay.
You don't want to see any philanthropy? You think it's just a bait?
I'm okay with philanthropy, but not finding the like
Not game
thing,
show like.
finding the thing that you need the most, and like you can't say no. That's the thing. So, being content for Mr. Beast is not what you want to do. You wouldn't do it for free. I mean, maybe if you wanted to promote your channel or something like that, but you don't. Let's say you don't. You're just a normal fucking person. You have a job, whatever. You're not interested in making YouTube content. Then it's hard for us to understand. It's fucking like crazy fucking internet like brain people.
Not everyone wants that, yeah.
Yeah, and most people don't.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of hard to dissect from it. But you become his content because he can give you what you can't get. So it's like, it feels like if I had like $10 billion, I could do whatever depraved sex act I want to any person in the world.
Okay.
Right? And that's kind of rapey. You know, that's not a good way to be, you know?
Yeah.
Everybody has a
agree.
price. Everybody has a price, and that's the feeling I get from the whole Mr. Beast
Yeah.
attitude. It's like everybody's got a price, and I know what your price is. You're blind. I can fix that. So it's like,
Yeah. I see. Yeah, the whole nature of like things being for content has like I think overall just shifted the way humanity like operates. Because yeah, like the whole red pill arc, like all of that like becoming trendy, and like I think I was on a podcast actually, panel, and I was talking to the guy right before, and I was asking him, I was just curious about his viewpoints on things, and it was very apparent he was just grifting the red pill for the money that it was worth. And I had some feelings about that, I guess. He's like, yeah, I don't really like believe in that. That's just where the money's at.
who said that?
It was, I don't remember his name, but it was someone from the Angry Man podcast sphere. I went on one of them. The topic of the conversation was like whether or not snitching is okay. Yeah, didn't really like talk a whole ton, but yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, man, I don't know. I think sometimes if people are doing really shady things, snitching is what gets them to stop. I don't know. It depends.
There's a lot of things you can do.
Yeah.
I think I thought that I've had talking to you. I've had this thought the whole time. I've been thinking you're a woman, okay, and that is intertwined into this conversation, because the whole like destiny being the wind under your wings thing, and you had this moment you mentioned where you're like, because you're doing like OnlyFans stuff, and you're like, I'm not doing that other stuff. You know, I would have to really change up. You know, I would have to shift my gears. It's a whole different thing. My immediate thought is it'd be a lot harder for you. It's hard for women. Even if you're a woman streamer, you're still a sex worker in a way. Like people will go because they want to fucking see a woman.
It's forever.
Yeah.
Forever.
Yes. Yep. And so there's a sick feeling I get when you say that you felt that kind of empowered by destiny in that way, where, because I feel like all women wish they could just be a human.
Mm-hmm.
And Like you felt that for a moment, and then it's way the opposite immediately. I don't like that.
Yeah, it's like I even like, I have some disagreements with Lav on certain things too, and I was talking
Who
about that when
doesn't?
I would be in DGG. Right. And so I would think that I'm like, having like a human conversation with people and that they're like going to humanize me, but a lot of the time if they can compare you to this other woman they don't like Amber Heard or Lav or whoever it might be that like is histrionic or BPD because you're acting irrationally, because honestly like if you're in a situation where people are constantly putting you down, it's like you're probably not going to be as level-headed as often as you would be if people were actually humanizing you.
Yeah. Maybe you'll start
Yeah.
fucking cry bullying. Because it's the only way people will fucking listen. No, I don't think you were like from what you described. That's not what like happened there. Like you just like were on your own stream and you got emotional. But like, I'm just saying like, yeah,
It's I think Lav made a lot of great points towards Destiny that were entirely discredited. And I don't think she was necessarily like out to ruin his life in the way that it was framed, but I do
you're
think
not
some of
like
the ways that
her.
I'm not like her.
She's
And that was not my intention with coming into the community. I was well aware of what happened with Lav. And, like, that's why I had the conversations I did with Destiny about his true feelings on the matter and whether or not that was just that or that was for content. Because at some point I was like, I don't know if everyone's working together and just manufacturing drama for content or what this actually is. So I just kind of waited. But, yeah, just the way that his community conducts himself towards people conducts themselves and he conducts himself towards people that he doesn't like for whatever reason.
You're not like the thing that I think is the Lav thing isn't what you are. The Lav thing is she's very smart. She has some good points, and she also has this fucking kick instinct to be very controversial or say something very provocative, and that's entertaining. She's that
could be that way sometimes, but in different ways, like the Iran comment, whatever. Like,
yeah.
I could be sarcastic. I could be witty. I can troll a little bit, but like not to.
I'm not saying you're not entertaining. I'm just saying like she the thing it like that's her gift and her curse. That's like, that is her cross to bear. It's probably going to always help her and hurt her. So.
The main thing I disagreed with her about was how she believes that sex work is inherently bad no matter what, and that we kind of need to be saved from it, like that kind of narrative. I think that sex work is a neutral thing, and it's completely dependent on how you're treated within that. And I've been treated poorly by a lot of clients, people, and I've been treated amazingly and made like lifelong friends with people. So it's completely contextual. And I imagine she was like one of the higher OF models or whatever. Like, you get a lot more of the hateful side of the world when you're like at the top, than like mid tier. I don't know. It's like you kind of have to decide at a certain point, do I want to allow myself to be treated this way, or do I want to make a little bit less? Like you were saying, if you had $10 billion, you could get anyone to do anything you wanted, pretty much. There are certain things that I just won't do no matter what the price is, because it's the way that I'm being treated within that interaction that I just, I put my morals over my money in a lot of ways. But yeah, I don't think sex work is inherently a bad thing.
Well, okay.
I don't think it inherently oppresses women, but it is
sad
have this argument that a lot of women feel the need to do it in the society, whereas they might not have otherwise.
Yeah. Oh my God. I have a lot to say about this topic, but yeah, I guess we can get into it.
What's up, here?
So when OnlyFans started, I was like, I don't know, like 20 or something, and I was forever ago. I'm 29 now. I don't know when it was. I remember I had a decent Instagram following, and I was pretty active on Instagram. And a lot of women that I followed suddenly had, women that I followed because they were hot, suddenly had OnlyFans accounts. And most of those women, in fact, had suddenly had OnlyFans accounts. And the ones that didn't, I remember being like, why not you? I want to fucking see you. And like that entitlement, I felt also sickened me.
Yeah.
And that being sort of like a default, like the fact that these women are already slotted into being like into their looks being the most important thing in their life, and then that, but that's a whole different point. Like the main point I would say why I think that sex work, I think an act of sex work isn't necessarily bad. It could be fine, but at large, it's never at large going to be, even within a single sex worker's career. I think that it is a type of coercion that is like all jobs, money, like all jobs, you're coerced. But I think that to be coerced to do something so intimate is bad. Like, have you ever seen? Abba from Abba and Preach pointed this out. So maybe he's wrong, but maybe he's not wrong. He said that when you see Instagram models in like Dubai or like in like Saudi Arabia and shit, it's because some creepy rich person like flew them there to like do something really gross and weird. He was saying that like Saudi princes would like hire like Instagram models to like have their like camels shit on them and like just like do like weird gross shit.
I actually just watched an Andrew Callahan clip on Instagram yesterday. He was interviewing this girl that gets paid bank to poop on people.
Yeah.
Sorry, I have enough.
I came across a website of some woman that was like she would like take her like feces and like dehydrate it and make it into like a powder that could be sold for people to bake with, and she would also bake like muffins and like cookies and shit. Yeah.
It's disgusting.
Yeah.
That's like about my line. Poo poo. I'm good on all that.
But that one is really detached from the sex work, though. There's not much she has to. She's like it's more like chemistry. Like she's a chemist.
Oh my gosh. I would not want to do the handling of that, but if she's comfortable with it and there's buyers for it, I guess.
Yeah, like is the person that builds a dildo, are they a sex worker or are they an engineer? Or, like, so I think that's maybe not even necessarily sex work.
Right.
I don't know.
Right.
I don't know how far. If we go down that path, then everything is sex work because everything in the end is about sex. So, yeah, but that's not actually what I think. I think sex work is when you actually pay for sex or pay someone to get naked in front of you and shit like that. So.
Yeah. I think it's like an umbrella. There's like a lot of things. Like I think even doing like sexy modeling for like a video game or something could maybe be like sex work depending on what you're doing. Like if I'm doing like voice acting, that's like sexy.
Being a woman.
Consider that sex work, I guess.
Just being a woman.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's like the reason that I did it was because I touched on briefly like my experience when I was younger. I was blackmailed when I was a kid for videos and pictures of myself, and people would like extort me. So I realized, as an adult struggling with capitalism, I was about to be homeless for a second time. I realized, I Googled how do I make money, found the website that I'm now most popular on, and at 19 I was like, okay, I'm gonna try it out. Made 300 my first night, and since then I've been able to maintain like housing stability. So
how old are you now?
It's like in a way it saved my life, but it's like also like it's sad that it was like that.
How old are you now?
Yeah. 27.
27?
Yep.
Something that you said in our DMs, we didn't have very much DMs. So I don't know if you're going to be uncomfortable with me saying anything, but something you said.
Leak all the logs.
Something you said concerned me a little bit, and I was worried about you. So we were talking about having a stream before this Destiny stuff. This was just convenient or whatever. This is just how the fucking cards fell on the table. But we were talking about having a stream, and then you said that you couldn't for a while because you had to go into grind mode,
Yep.
doing like sex work because you needed to pay your rent. And
Yep.
that was like, that thought is horrifying to me.
You're gonna make me cry thinking about it, because there's like, it's like,
I don't want to.
I know the trope. You're not
necessarily.
supposed to cry on stream. I don't want to do that.
I don't want to.
but,
I don't want to
like,
make you cry.
with that, it's like literally points. Like I think it was last year for my 7-year anniversary streaming, which some aspects of it I love, but just the grind, and having like everything happen in between, and like so many personal things that I don't want to get into right now. But on my 7-year anniversary, I'm like trying to muster up like, yeah, I'm excited. But then the moment like one person says one off the wall thing to me, I'm like, I need to go fucking cry for a sec. Cause it's like, it really is like, and that's exactly what I was talking about on Destiny stream. The level of dehumanization online is not justifiable, and it's not normal. It's like the internet, like you said, is very new. And like being a adult content creator for so long, I've experienced so many different aspects of the internet, and for a long time I was telling myself I would never ever date another man again, because I see directly on a daily basis the worst thoughts of men who think that they can do whatever they want because they have money. And yes, I feel very proud of myself, how I've been very authentic and myself through my journey, and I've shared with people how things affect me, and I will have conversations with people and like humanize them, because I know on the other side, like a lot of like tippers and viewers and content consumers are dehumanized and treated as if they're just a paycheck. So it goes both ways.
More towards you, but that's true. But
yeah, but it also, I think it's like the pendulum of gender trauma is like the issue. Is like men have resentment for women, and women also like rightfully have.
You're the only person that said it like that. Like that. Like I think it's cyclical. It's all cyclical. Whenever when men complain about women, everything that men hate about women is because of men, and everything that women hate about maybe not everything, but pretty much everything that women hate about men is because of women. It's a cycle. It all self perpetuates. It all feeds into itself. Mm-hmm. So when you hate women, it's also yourself, and when you hate men, it's also yourself.
I hated men so much, but like I've actually had like really groundbreaking conversations with my father, like in recent years, like the past year, about like trauma that was done onto him from my grandmother, and it like directly tied into the way that he raised me. And he cried and sobbed and apologized and said he was so sorry for all the time he's wasted. He's done some horrible things that I thought I would never forgive him for. But that acknowledgement of that, like, generational trauma and, like, how he resented the feminine, like, from the things that happened to him, which were horrible things. But yeah, just how that feeds into itself. And it like really helped me release a lot of resentment I had for him and for men in my life in general, because there was that blockage for me where I was like, men are the problem. But then, yeah, when you zoom out, you really realize like we've traumatized each other in so many ways. But I think on the side of like men, like you have to acknowledge like historically, like when women were even allowed to vote or have a home or have a job, you know, like on their own without being like, you know, under the wing of a man. And so as much as it goes both ways, the historical aspect of that and the laws that like we've created in our society are something to acknowledge. Like there's more weight on that end. And so you can see like, I don't know, the suicide rates of men like getting higher than women, and you can see so many women like profiting off OnlyFans and stuff like that. But that's not necessarily bringing whole happiness. Like a lot of these people who are at the top, like there's a famous streamer, Coconut Kitty. She was one of the most popular OnlyFans models there was, and she took her own life like last year. It's not authentic happiness and healing, even though the power is shifting like the other direction. A lot of people see. Yeah, and it's like, what else could you, like in my situation, what else could you expect a woman to do who's been exploited for her body other than to take the power back of her body and be able to use that herself to bring profit or wealth to herself from her own body rather than other people exploiting it. But
right,
yeah, I think it's like a pendulum. I don't think that's necessarily like where we're at right now is like a healthy place to stop. but it's
Even if
yeah.
so, like, let's say that you. I'm trying to like construct a fucking this complex. If you were abused by your parent in a
Hmm.
certain way, it's all obvious. I'm sure you would agree that you'll end up seeking that out unwittingly in your relationships, and you'll relive your your childhood trauma through your relationships just by the people that you seek out. This is, I don't know, maybe not everybody, but this is very common. And if we are traumatizing women, and then we empower them, and now they're just like, now women are also like reliving their own trauma through their own power too.
Yeah.
And even if we, so like you like resorting to OnlyFans, like in that's a like convenient, creative, like in fun in some ways, um but like even if you had another alternative option, I don't even think you would have done it, because like, or maybe you would have, I don't know you, but
Was working 2 jobs at the time, and I
that's not a
had
good option.
gone yeah, I
That's
had
not a
gone
good
to a
option.
Craigslist gig thing, and he was like, I went to the thing, it was for a yoga instructor. I wanted to be a yoga instructor, and then I got there and he's like, actually, you have the perfect body to be a contortionist. This was when I was 18 or 19. And so he wanted to take me and turn me into a cosplaying
That's
contortionist
still
on
a sex
YouTube, and
worker.
he would be my manager. So yeah, it was like this other guy just coming to me on Craigslist, like wanting to profit from me, which I had experienced all too
A
much.
nerdy pimp.
Yeah, and he was like a chiropractor. He made me do a back bend, and I was like, whoa, I didn't know my body could bend like that. But it was just the energy of it, in which I knew he was just looking to make a buck, and he didn't really like care about
Yeah,
me.
you almost got Andrew
Um,
Tated.
yeah. And the thing is about Andrew Tate is like my experience in the industry. Like I can very much like feel different energy from different people who are like maybe more empowered than others, or maybe or less. And yeah, my own experience with it's kind of sad to say it, but what I actually decided to do when I started at 19 wasn't OF, but it was live streaming. But having like the positive reflections from people actually showed me that the relationship I was in at the time, in which I was very not being treated well, um, that there were people out there who were willing to be nice to me, even if it was for because they wanted to have sex with me. They were at least doing the decency of like treating me like a human to begin with, and like somewhat
That's not
caring about
human.
me and making sure I was taken care of and eating and like
Yeah, but
that kind of thing, where I didn't really experience a lot of that before. So it's sad, but it like actually
you'll ne-
showed me that like there's
you
people out
gotta
there
you
that
gotta
give
you
a
gotta
fuck.
try this man thing. You gotta try it. You gotta try it. It feels good. It feels good to not be. I mean, I know, but like, there's like, so I want to share something about myself. So I have. So I mean, I'm empathizing with everything you're saying, but also in my life I have like had the very strong compulsion. I wanted to be Andrew Tated. I would tell women in relationships, let's make an OnlyFans, and I'll do all the shit you want me to do, and we'll split the money 50-50. And I thought it would be fun, and I wanted that. It would give me such a fucking boner. That's what I wanted.
To
In
be
to my core, I don't know. Maybe I don't know. There's something about like I don't know if I don't know. I think that I want that because I think it's good that I wasn't given that option,
mm,
because I would have taken it. I don't think I would have had much success with that either. But if I had the option to have had success doing that, so if I had done that, it would have just been a fun thing. It wouldn't have gotten me like a lot of money to sustain myself on. So maybe that's why I'm so comfortable playing with those kind of ideas.
I kind of always told myself like on stream, especially when I first started, I kind of had to like raise my standards in a way, because I've been working since I was like 15. Honestly, since I was a kid, my parents did adult foster care. My grandma did adult foster care, and I would help them run the adult foster care home, like make dinner, clean the house. So I always told myself, as long as I'm making on stream more than what I was making at my minimum wage Taco Bell job, which was $8 an hour, um, that I'm doing all right because I'm just like at home doing what's, fun for me. And I also, like in the workplace, like I guess as a woman, or maybe who I am, I just attract it because of my personality. I would get sexually harassed as like a young teenager in the workplace. As an adult in the workplace, it got better the more I moved like out of my small town. But it just like it wasn't ideal anywhere really. So I would kind of like normalize in a way some of the harassment I would get on stream, and compartmentalize it and pretend like it wouldn't affect me. But yeah, there was just like a certain cracking point where I realized like it was affecting me and the way I was like showing up for other people in my life. And
You have to dissociate from it,
yeah.
right? And you have to just like eventually you become numb to it, but it's still going to be affecting you. And you have the best way to succeed is sort of to pretend it's not there or laugh at it. And then if you start to crack and you start realizing like how much like pain it's causing you, and you start pointing it out, now you're a fucking bitch. We all and it's like it's really.
And that's what I felt the other day. Like after the stream, like I said, I cried to my partner a bit. We went to bed. Woke up the next day for Halloween, and I checked my phone, and I posted some of the screenshots on Twitter because some of them, like, wow, that's like, even if I did all the worst, like devil's advocate, like the worst case scenario things, even if all of those were true, the stuff that I woke up to, I just started shutting down. Like my body started shutting down because I was aware it was going to happen, but I think I was allowing myself to be so vulnerable that I really felt the impact of it.
Yeah.
And I was like stress vomiting. I thought I had the flu. I was like sweating, shaking, migraine. Yeah. And then I took a nap and I was fine. So it wasn't the flu. But I very much do think like that those types of comments, like people calling for you to die, saying that you're mentally ill, that you're worthless, that you're stupid, that you're retarded, like I don't think any of those people making those comments understand what it's like to hear those things at like such large scale as a creator.
Yeah, and I don't necessarily even blame them. Essentially, I blame Destiny. Like it's his community, and like I hate how like this is such an obvious criticism, and the DGG will brush this under the rug, but Hassan's community doesn't do that. And then they'll be like, oh yeah, but he doesn't have any community. He sucks. His community is barely even strung together. Yeah, because like he's not like rallying them like a fucking mob.
Right.
He's not. Right. They're not his army.
Like he'll say some off comments that I think are stupid or kind of like problematic or harmful. Like
he's
he
no
said some
worse
stuff
than
about
Mischief.
landlords that are in. Yeah, but no, he's not. He's not saying this person like. He doesn't watch Destiny's content. He kind of at this point is like Destiny doesn't exist.
He's just a dummy
because of the volatility. Yeah, and but like I've never heard Hassan say you should end your life.
Right.
You are so stupid. You should end your life. Like that.
If he did, he would probably
insane
apologize and like he'd probably have a whole apology top video about it. I can imagine him doing it.
He was doing ban appeals recently with another person he had on stream, and the other person was like also playing judge, and they were like leveling each other out, and like seems like receptive to that like criticism when he's like a little bit too harsh. But I also get it from Hassan's perspective that being that scale of a content creator, sometimes when you're streaming long hours like that, you're gonna get emotional. You're gonna say some like intense things. That can happen for sure.
Yeah, it's almost part of the game. The streaming, especially people that stream so many fucking hours, it's like everybody's just waiting for that moment where you're fucking break. You know what I mean? They're like I'm a straw, and I'm gonna be the next straw in the camel's back, and I hope it's gonna be me. Earlier, like in the week, I posted something on Twitter. I get so much insight about toxicity through Twitter, but somebody like said because I had to get rid of my fucking hard drives in my computer because they failed, and I had to install a new one. I kind of get more, but I said that I saved my old projects by installing Linux on a flash drive, and then I was able to access stuff and then move it to an external hard drive. And someone said that quoted my part where I said I was able to save my old projects, and he's like, "Oh, please don't," or something. And I was like, and then I replied like something like, "That's why I'm making content and you're just commenting." And then the person was like, no, don't take it seriously. I'm just trolling on Twitter. I hope you're the best. And I was like, what the, like, whiplash, like
I literally had someone. I was streaming with a girl like when I was first started off in my career, and she had never streamed before. She was someone I went to school with, and I was streaming with her. We were having a great time hanging out, and then someone comments, and they're like comparing her to a Left 4 Dead boomer and like shitting on her appearance. And she starts crying, and then we leave the stream, and I tell stream, like, hey, that comment, like, she's not used to this internet culture like I am. Like, you can't, like, just say that. And the guy was, like, really apologetic, and he's like, I'm so sorry, I had no idea that would, like, actually affect her. I was just trying to be funny, make other people laugh. And I think that's the thing, like, it's a lot of, like, that herd mentality. They're trying to make the other people who are deciding upon, like, this person not being good to make them get a kick of it. I don't know if, like, all of them actually mean harm, but it's like, yeah, it's like a herd mentality for a lot of them. And it's like a knee-jerk reaction for them to just bully and put people down. I don't know. I've also had, like, within the streaming industry, like, some other content creators that make spicy content, like, been around some that are, like, overly competitive, and they'll be, like, just the first thought that comes into their mind about how they can have, like, the gotcha and, like, put this person down because it's, like, the funny thing to say without really referencing that they're another human being. Yeah, it was really hard for me to see that, like, in the, like, adult industry, especially, like, how fucking horrible they can be to each other and how much they can put each other down for the sake of competition or whatever justification. But knowing well that so many of us come from so much trauma and bullshit that led up to us making the decision to put ourselves out there so vulnerably, like, sexually online. Because it like, a lot of people will say, like, oh, I could never do sex work, I could never do that, because, like, their family, their friends, their self-esteem or whatever, they think that they're above that. So a lot of people who are willing to do those things have had certain things happen to them in their life where that's not really an issue to them. Like, for me, for personal anecdote, my father raised me telling me I was going to be a prostitute since a very young age. And so when I already had that perception of me projected upon me, it was like, when I got kicked out of the house at 17 and became homeless and all those things happened and my family wasn't there for me, fuck it. Why not do sex work? It's like, we're already this far. It's like sad that, like, a lot of people are survival sex workers. Not all of them, but yeah, just the gravity of trauma in which, like, human beings experience in general, but especially in the niche, like, career, like, of doing sex work, and yeah, just how we can dehumanize each other just, like, really gets to me, because I've like seen confrontations go down on Twitter where there was, like, this one girl who she took a picture of her boobs out in front of a George Floyd mural, and people were reaming her for it, saying how awful she was, how terrible she was. And a couple weeks later, she took her own life. She didn't post anything since. And it's like, yes, that's a mistake. They shouldn't do that. But how many people that I've just seen just disappear? I think there's just a better way of handling conflict on spaces like Twitter, as, like, hopeless as it seems to, like, make that type of space better.
Yeah. Well, there's so many different things going on. One of them is hurting other people. Okay, there's too many things going on. I can only latch onto one. Okay, but there's so many fucking aspects.
Sorry, I
said
a lot.
I know. Well, what you're talking about, like, there's different aspects of this toxicity, because you're talking about it from the perspective of the victim. But if I want to talk about, like, why some of these things happen, they're all different. So, like, the competition between the sex workers, that's its whole dynamic and everything. The thing about people on Twitter, like pushing people, like, just spewing venom at people, they just I'm making assumptions, but in some way that they need to feel something, and not all of them are even bad people at all. I think a lot of them are young, and they just need to feel something, and they see you, and you, especially like as a streamer or somebody that is like interactive sort of, making you emotional is meaningful to them in a very weird way. And
Like they matter.
yeah.
Yeah.
And if I can freak you out, then it's like if you were to troll me and I just don't respond at all, and nobody cares, and there's nothing, and it's just, you're just invisible, you're an ant, then you just live on in your cold life, whatever it is. But like, you being able to freak me out means you're bigger than me in some way. And maybe you see something in me that you hate within yourself, or something like that. There's a lot of stuff that goes into this, but I think that the social media companies are probably the most to blame for the dynamics, but
Yeah.
and Destiny.
It's like, yeah, it's like that mentality, and I kind of like maybe broke through a little bit of a shell on the stream last time because I mentioned like the way he operates. It seems like he's traumatized.
Yeah, he's freaking
Like
out. He's
that
freaking the fuck out.
mentality. And I mentioned him being on Adderall too because I also don't think Adderall is the best conflict resolution drug. I've been on Adderall. I have a lot of anecdotal evidence to say that like sometimes when people are on Adderall, they can very much think they are the right one. And when you're already somebody who, like, that's your persona, is always proving people wrong, and then you're on an amphetamine, that can kind of amplify that a little bit.
I'm on amphetamines right now.
You're not really like the type of person who's like, you need to be wrong and I need to be right, though. I think it's can depend on where you're coming from.
I don't say that to dismiss you. I think you're probably still right.
Mm-hmm.
I think that I've done a lot of work on my amphetameniness.
Yeah, and it completely depends on how well fed, hydrated you are, all that stuff.
I need
too.
a fucking drink.
Yeah.
Smethy is smooth. Fuck you on.
Dude, I agree. You're honestly a really great content creator. I only saw you because you were on Brittany Simon, and I actually like heard you guys like just mention some things briefly that inspired me to say what I said in the chat. And then I checked out your channel, and that's when I found the Destiny report, and I was like, kind of just like when the whole Mr. Girl thing happened, I was like, kind of sus, but I'm not going to look into it too far. Mr. Girl got banned on all his things. He has his own issues.
I'm so glad
but
you
then
liked
I saw
that
your
video.
report. Yeah, I really liked it. I really liked the way that you put it together, and
I've not got a lot of good feedback about that video.
Really?
At least I don't hear it.
Okay.
But
I think it gets to who it needs to get to.
Yeah, I'm just like getting better, and that video is like helped me get a lot better at making videos, at video editing and stuff. So maybe something about the way these fucking people have treated me has made me want to block that video out of my mind. But I put a lot of work into it, and I shouldn't block it out of my mind.
Yeah, no, it helped me personally because it was I saw that video right after I had that one-on-one conversation with Destiny where he said Lav should in fact take her own life. I had that one-on-one conversation with him, saw your video like a week or so after. Got a real fire up my ass about how I was going to confront him about his really shitty take about calling for people to end their lives.
It's
like
not
on
even
stream,
that big of an ask.
to...
I already said this, but it's just
Right.
such a small thing. Like telling people to kill themselves not only has a big impact on them, but has a big impact on everybody that wants to kill themselves. Like
Yes.
that like no, they're all pussies. They're all already gonna die. It's like nothing I can do. Me being less toxic won't. No, you're just you're just a fucking like
A bully.
how are you so attached to, like, look, like, there are things that I'm going to be attached to. Like, you tell me not to say retard, and I might argue with you about it or something. But I mean, I probably wouldn't argue the way he argues. I mean, right? Like, I still might hear your point. Maybe I'll, like, if I'm going to say a naughty word, I think that I should understand the naughtiness of it and not pretend it's not naughty. If I'm going to tell someone to kill themselves, I'm allowed to do that, but I'm not allowed to do that without knowing the weight of that. That like that's
and
not.
Which is why I brought up Byron, which is why I brought him up, not as a weapon, but he was clearly like diminishing and devalidating the weight of that statement. Like, not only does that affect, like, Hassan probably doesn't care, Mike from PA probably doesn't care, they know how Destiny is, but it's targeted towards them, but like, as you said, it impacts everybody. It impacts everybody who might be suicidal in the chat, really thinking like, man, I'm really a piece of shit person. There's this one time I spread information and misinformation that, like, actually, like, or I knowingly lied, or I did this abusive thing.
The idea that anybody should kill themselves is fucking retarded.
Yeah. I agree. I've seen people come back from a lot of really, really shitty places, and I've personally, like, come back from, like, I think a really shitty place, and I think I'm doing a lot better now. I'm definitely, like, a lot more sensitive now than I was when I was a little, like, edgy shitter, and I would, like, make, you know, cringy comments towards people online when I was younger. But
that's another thing.
I would rather be vulnerable and sensitive and feel all of those things than to not and to perpetuate harm upon others for making, like, ignorant comments towards people. But yeah, the Byron thing, bringing that up, it wasn't meant to be a weapon whatsoever. I just wanted him to, like, if he cares at all, to, like, understand that people who are in that headspace might be feeling like what you just described. The world would be better off without me.
But he gets it. Okay, he gets it. Here's the thing. Yeah. Here's why it's called cry bullying, okay? Okay, this is what it is happening. This is exactly the fucking dynamic. He knows what you're saying. He understands what you're saying. He's not a retard. He's been on the internet forever. He knows the thing you're trying to say by showing them that video and everything. And so by re-showing it to him, because he, like, how many times do I have to repeat myself? He knows what you're saying.
Yeah.
You showing him that video, you should know.
He doesn't want to play that video, but he will play videos of Byron at, like, some of his worst moments. Like, when he did something cringy that was, like, on live stream fails, he'll replay those clips to his audience. So I was very confused at why he wouldn't play the clip of Byron literally pleading with people, hey, when you tell me to end my life, that really affects me. Like, just baffled me why he just could not play that video.
It's because it's emotional and gay. You know, like... It
was a weapon I was using against him, apparently.
He
really does care.
If he was to play that video, it might persuade some members of his audience to agree with you. And because it's emotional. And that is something that DGG thinks is wrong.
Yeah.
To do. And it's not. It might be wrong. There are times when that kind of thing is like propaganda. So if you're talking about, like, a conflict where there's a war and you're like, yeah, but look at these pictures of destroyed human bodies and dead children and shit. And you're like, because, like, both sides are killing people. And you could do it for either side, but you're like, no, but look at this side did. Like, that's a unfair focus. This is not a situation where you're picking one side and you're illuminating one evil in absence of the other evil. Mm-hmm. This is just, you're saying, like, because that's the way they're seeing it. But really, you're just saying, this is the emotional weight behind what I'm saying. And the counterpoint to that is Destiny being allowed to say that there's no other people killing people. It's just him being allowed to say that people should kill themselves. It's not a battle between two fucking armies in fucking Africa or some random, it's not fucking Israel, Palestine. It is
Right.
just, it hurts people when you do this, when you use your platform like this. And this is an example of how that hurts people. And I should be able to hurt people, and I don't care. And
Yeah.
if you present something that makes people care, that means that you're being manipulative, because I don't think they should care.
Right.
It's not even that complicated.
And it's like, I think of it that way, but it's like really when those people are just constantly telling you, you're this, you question yourself. And then I think that's where what Dr. K said comes in, where you have to reaffirm your reality and yourself and those things about you, because otherwise, if you remain vulnerable when these people are constantly projecting onto you, you break and
You
can't
become
handle it.
enmeshed with their insane, toxic sludge.
Yeah. That's why when someone in your life is a narcissist, you have to like an extreme narcissist, and they're hurting you, you have to have that distance, because no amount of you reasoning them with them is like gonna
That's
be
why
that thing for them.
That's
on
why
them.
it's hard for me to think about the Destiny Report video. To detangle that from all the toxicity.
What do you mean?
You just said that like it makes you second guess yourself. And so I have like different narratives of why I might be wrong. A lot of it was like vlogish. It wasn't like I wrote a big script, and maybe I was wrong about some points, and I don't know, but even for the most part I wasn't.
Yeah. And the whole narrative that Mr. Girl's like the big bad wolf, he's evil, and you're like sharing that, and whatever, like
he can be, you can call him an asshole, but he's not evil. Like he's just trying to do the right thing. And honestly, there's real shame. Like I said this to Brittany, the real shame is Destiny could make great content by just being honest and talking about this shit and self-reflective, and it would be brilliant. It would be so fucking good.
Yeah, I agree. I was actually just recently talking to an old friend of mine who I think like cancel culture has kind of gone and had their way with people, and some people have been like, okay, well, I should remove myself from society because I'm bad, or I can't handle the backlash of honestly like truthfully telling my story and like clearing up the narrative, because they're gonna assume whatever no matter what. And so I think people can kind of like back down, avoid it, like double down, become like more narcissistic about who they are and not accept that like criticism. But I think it's really, really powerful to see people who have messed up, who have mistreated people, even in like some of the most extreme ways, to own up to that and to be like, yeah, I did these things, but I also didn't do these things, but I did do these things, and I want to be accountable for the impact that I did have with conducting myself this way.
It goes against the whole principle that you were fighting against when you, in your conversation, that you responded so passionately against, that the idea that people should kill themselves. No, like even if you do bad things, like there should be like people who do bad things are the most important voice to talk about it, because like we all do bad things, and how do we grow from that? How do we move on? How do we become better people? That is a very important question, and it seems like the only answer that we want to give people is go fucking kill yourself, and that's not good enough. It's not going to do it.
It's just going to perpetuate more pain, because then it's like, even if that's the case, the people surrounding that person, every time someone ends their life, there's that just like ripple effect of pain all around, and it's like more trauma to deal with. And sometimes people like handle their grief with like anger. I've personally been around that, and it's really hard because like for me, when my grandmother passed over the pandemic, my father did not handle that well, and he became very angry, and he took that out on me. So yeah, it took a while to process through what that all meant, but to just try and avoid mass scale suffering by saying bad people should commit suicide, because like you and I both said, we've all been abusive at some point or the other, whether intentionally or unintentionally.
You're abandoning yourself. You're not just abandoning them, you're abandoning yourself, because part of you is a woman beater. Okay, part of you is a rapist. Everybody, like you are not an angel. Like you could have been the Virginia Tech shooter. You could have been, you know what I mean? We are all capable of bad things, and
Something Rick Doblin says, and in a reference Destiny used, Rick Doblin talks a lot about psychedelics, and he went on a podcast and he said, you know, we could be Hitler, like in the right circumstances and the right, you know, things. So it's ironic that Destiny, you know, will compare the people he's calling to commit suicide, like Hassan, Hitler or something like that. He'll use that comparison, which is what he clipped and he has now posted on his thing. But the argument they'll use is like, well, Hitler should have obviously committed suicide, right? But it's like, you think about who Hitler was, like World War One that he served in, leading to World War II, all these horrible things that happened, all these prerequisites. It's like,
yeah, if people didn't think that Hitler should commit suicide, maybe he wouldn't have been Hitler.
Yeah.
You know, like that's part of, like, he rose to power, but it's not like he was like universally beloved.
Right.
He
had something to prove. Like, he had a narcissism where he was like, well, if you know, the working class German people or whatever are bad, we'll show you that we're actually
humiliated
the best of the best.
and like a failure in a lot of ways. And
yeah, and it's like, you can call for people who are like that, like Putin, whoever, to commit suicide. You can do that. But I would personally rather see future generations not have to experience so much trauma in which people like this are created as often.
Yeah, and obviously, because then the obvious fucking... Okay, now I'm doing the thing I was saying I hated hearing you do. But obviously, to the DGGist response is going to be, well, you're just being... I don't necessarily think Destiny would say this, but the DGG typical kind of, well, you're just dismissing, like, you're letting people off the hook who do bad things. No, that's not what I'm fucking saying. That's not what you're saying. No. We're not saying, like, you do bad things, you are a bad person. You are a rapist. You are a rapist. You actually are a rapist. So that doesn't mean we just say, oh, well, we all could have been a rapist so you can get away with it. No. We're saying like, how do you become someone that's not a rapist? I don't think that's to like rape you, or, you know, I don't think that, you know what I mean? It's not to like, right. It's not to fucking cut your arm off or, yeah. How does Hitler stop being Hitler? I don't think we were ready to even, I don't know. That'd be hard.
There has to be a level of accountability, because I think like with like cancel culture and that whole thing, it's like kind of like the gender thing where it's like a pendulum. It's like people for so long weren't accountable for what they did, so now we're taking it into our own hands, like kind of like a little bit of torches and pitchforks a little bit, and we're taking care of the problem. But I just don't think that this is ideal, and I think that there's a better way we can hold people accountable, and we can hold ourselves accountable. Like, I did this thing, but I'm not this person, and I don't want to continue to do this thing. I don't ever want to do this thing again. Yeah. And there's obviously varying degrees to that, but say in the case of like people who don't know how to conduct themselves relationally in either romantic or sexual dynamics, if they were like taught this horrible way of relating, like, I think that's something that we need to understand as a society, like how we teach people to relate with each other and how that impacts these things happening.
This is what I think we need. I think the way prison works is bullshit. We're just torturing people. I think we need, and I'm going to say one thing and I'm going to say, it needs to be basically your parents failed, your community failed you, that you have grown into a monster in some way, and you need a second childhood. Now that doesn't mean though that you should be put in into like a Christmas camp where like you get presents every day. I think that like labor and like work, you need to learn how to feel proud of doing hard work. You need to like learn how to feel valuable for the right things. You need to learn how to feel loved for being a good person and not for like hurting people. You need to be, and you need to, like, and a lot of that's going to be hard and painful, and that's going to be excruciating in some ways. And I guess maybe there's solace to people that want revenge in that, if you want to think about it that way.
Mm-hmm. I kind of, maybe a different thing, maybe related. I think like for certain people, like different types of kink therapy. That's why I'm more pro sex work than I am against it. I think certain types of kink therapy can be really empowering for people to explore, not always sexual, but just kind of like explore these different dynamics where they're in different situations. They're either like being caretaked for or vice versa. Like stuff like that. Not inherently sexual, maybe kink's not the best word, but just like you're describing, like these different type of dynamics and situations where they can either like enact in a new way like what's hurting them, like what they
Yeah.
need more of, like if they need like a hug and someone to nurture them and make them a meal or tuck them in or something like that. Some people like don't want to admit it, but that's kind of what they need sometimes. um
Yeah,
yeah,
like the
and
guy.
I think we inherently like need each other, and the people who think that they're all they need and all they'll ever need and like fuck women or fuck friends or whatever the fuck can, yeah, become very harmful to society.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
imagining a guy, like a tough prison guy, and his part of his, like, his sentence is he's gonna be tucked into bed every day, and someone tucks him in, and he freaks the fuck out, and he punches him in the fucking head, and
Oh
he
my
hates
god.
it. But like we set it up in a way where the person's not gonna be hurt or anything, and no matter what, we keep fucking tucking him in every fucking night, and he's like spazzing out and he's freaking the fuck out, and after like a year of this, he starts crying, and yeah.
Damn. That wasn't exactly, so that's maybe more of extreme of the scenario, but like I think though, like as you were saying, like the prison system is like very fucked. It's like we're taking these people who have been a harm to society and putting them in a box with other people who are a harm to society, and then they surprisingly enact harm upon each other. Like I have personal anecdotes with people who have been really harmful to me who grew up in the juvenile detention system and the prison system. Like that's kind of what their upbringing was like because they had a single mom who couldn't handle their mental health stuff, and it just got worse and worse. And yeah, it just made them more destructive to society. But I do think that the juvenile and the prison system worsened that
Yeah.
rather than helped it. And you look at like prison systems like more like Norway, stuff like that. Like even being like in your own place and maybe having those like, I don't know, like certain things that are actually going to like heal this person, whatever that may be for them, could be talked about with whatever like kind of like therapist they're working with. I think all people in prison should be working with therapists too, obviously, which is not always what happens. A lot of people in the prison system fall through the cracks with getting like mental
Bubba
health care while
becomes
they're
your
in there.
therapist.
Bubba becomes your therapist, exactly. And that obviously leads to more trauma being enacted upon other people once they get out, because they're like
Yeah.
taking that power back in some way.
Mr. Girl said it in a way that I like. He said, "So you're gonna, hypothetically, you're living next to a rapist, a pedophile rapist, okay, and they're gonna get out after like 15 years or something. They didn't like murder someone, so they're getting out. Would you rather your neighbor be the pedo rapist that was tortured for 15 years, or the one that they tried their best to make sure was healthy when they came out? You have to
Right,
live next to them."
right. Yeah, that's a very like I relate to that a lot because I grew up around 3 different sex offender prisons, and my brother actually went to prison for sex crimes and drug crimes. So, and when he got out of prison, didn't have a healthy relationship with where he was at, and he tried to make the moves on me. And yeah, and I have an estranged relationship with him. But I don't think the prison system helped him. He got out and he was like conducting himself in the same way and justifying it with religion and Yahweh. And yeah, I
Mm.
just think the current system of like punishment we have isn't ideal for growth.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
it's obvious to us.
Yeah. I'm actually really like I really love that when I was talking about like the gender cyclical dynamic of that you related to that a lot, because I've been talking about that a lot. It means a lot to me to hear
Yeah,
that
me
other
too.
people see
Nobody
it that
says that.
way.
Yeah. I always have to point out, like the way I say it, pendulum is a good way to say it. The way I've always said it was cyclical. I see it as like
Mm,
a recycling sign
mm,
in both directions. So that's basically a
yeah.
pendulum.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like with I think a pendulum's a good example for like abusive dynamics too. There's this woman I listen to on YouTube sometimes, Teal Swan. She made a video recently about like codependency and narcissistic dynamics in relationships and how people can like flip and like oscillate from one to the other because they're trying to find that like sense of self, but it's not safe to be your self that's actually put together. You feel like you have to do the other one on one way or the other. Yeah, and it just like creates just a domino effect of trauma for everyone when you're convinced that it has to be like one or the other, and you don't really have that like healthy sense of self.
Yeah. Well,
um
now everybody
yeah,
should now you're free. You're not Lav too.
I'm not allowed to. You don't think I'm like Lav?
Well, I mean, I guess in some ways, but
I'd
the
love to talk to her sometime.
yeah, I think she would probably love to. She'll love any woman that sounds smart. She seems to really want to connect with. Like she has like a really strong. In my experience with her, I haven't talked to with her in a couple months, but she seems to have a really strong desire to connect with like women that seem smart and emotionally intelligent.
Yeah, yeah, I would really love to connect with more sex workers and former sex workers to create more community in that, because yeah, I think it's a good thing a lot of us are more empowered than we may have been historically, but yeah, there's a lot of trauma and misdirection and like not really knowing where to place that power. um
Yeah,
yeah, and I hope that, I don't know if this conversation ever makes its way back to Destiny, or if Destiny ever has a moment to reflect on the Destiny report authentically for what he actually experienced with that and how it's affected other people, also importantly, like to really realize like he has so much power. Like he says he wants to do canvassing. Destiny could do so much good with his community, his platform. Like a lot of people are coming to him like as young people, like their first introduction to politics, and he might disagree with people, um, and not want to be accountable for certain things he's done, but yeah, just to understand the way that we all honestly navigate conflict and like our impact on each other,
yeah.
I think is really important takeaway from all this.
I don't think that's gonna happen.
Yeah. I mean I'm down to do more talks with you. I'm down to maybe talk to Mr. Girl sometime, talk to Lav, talk to other content creators who actually want to push humanity towards a more positive, healing, growth mindset direction.
Yeah,
I think that's really important.
there's a growing movement, I think. You know how I think? Okay, one more thing. This
Yeah.
conversation is about to end, but the way I think that Destiny's fans, like you said, that he's probably their first introduction to politics. This is how I think it functions, because this is how it worked with me. Because I watched him for a while, and I started like I just went into Twitch and typed like politics, and I wanted to find shit like that. And I found some smaller people, and I started watching them. And everybody would mention Destiny. Who's this Destiny guy? And it was, oh, I hate that guy, or oh, I like that guy. He's got good points. And then you eventually see Destiny, and he makes everybody look like a fucking retard.
Yeah.
And he sucks
He's
up
the best of the
all the
best.
viewers from all these smaller people who are attracting curious young minds, and he sucks up all these young minds by just making everybody look like a fucking retard and humiliating everybody. And I think that is his cycle. And then eventually they get a little bit older and they stop watching him.
Or, you know, I mean, I got older and I decided to come back. I saw him around when I started streaming on Twitch when I was like 17. I saw him around, but never really like interacted. I kind of like saw him being like aggressive towards people, but I really it took Byron dying and seeing the way that he kind of policed everybody who was empathetic or felt something from that I'm like, huh, okay, that's weird. I saw a video of after the Byron passed, like a video of him doing shrooms with Byron. And I did notice like a change in who he was prior to and after that. And I personally, like, mushrooms have helped me a lot, like do a lot of like self introspection and like understand like the world more, be more empathetic. I think mushrooms helped me a lot with that. But so yeah, I was kind of curious, kind of interested, and I started getting more and more into it. And really, like, I remember like a big like notification about his content when I saw him talking about Anna the first time. And I was really like, there are so many videos about this girl, like what's going on here? And it was just like, oh, she's just crazy. She's just crazy. And then, you know, the stuff that came out around when the Mr. Girl falling out happened about like how they were sexting. I was like, wow, she's crazy, huh? And it just like reminded me of a lot of dynamics I've been a part of where, yeah, I guess it's like kind of like you go over it in your whole report, but like love bombing and like, hey, you're on my platform, you're on panels with me, but no, now you're crazy. But also you're crazy, but I deleted the videos so it doesn't matter. So now we're having a sexual connection. That's what makes you sexy. Yeah, that whole like fetishization over like mentally ill people, like.
But with him, it's making you crazy, and then getting a boner over it.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of people made insinuations that we had some type of sexual relationship. We never met in person, and yeah, that would be a boundary for me. So, you guys can.
I blame him for that. I don't blame you for that. I blame him for that. Him saying you're Lav 2.0. I think people...
I was incredibly shocked to find out him and Cherry had a sexual relationship too. I was like, whoa, is it? It was just like either the report was completely spot on or it's just coincidence. But I knew like the whole time interacting, like I'm not gonna cross that line. I'll be friends with him, like if he can like be friendly towards me, you know. I was okay with like being his friend, but was never really willing to like go that far, because like when I see somebody who's like conducted themselves in their sexual dynamics in a way that's like clearly abusing their power, and exploiting people in a way, I'm like,
if he can fuck his fans, just don't have him on a stream. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Easy solution.
And it's like, I would even say you can fuck your fans, your you know, peers, coworkers. You can fuck them if you want. You can have them on your stream. But to make repeated defamatory videos targeted at them, once you fuck somebody,
once you fuck somebody, you're taking on some level of burden of care emotionally to some extent. Like, he wants to believe that he doesn't need to do that ever. It's like, it's very clear in everything he talks about his sex life and how he's like poly, and how he said that he doesn't care about cheating, even though like Melina said that she discovered he was cheating in ways that they had said
she's not okay with that. She even told him live on stream, like, I'm not okay with that. Like,
and he just doesn't feel like he should have to play by anyone else's rules, including the rules of the people he's having sex with. And I mean,
that's not Yeah, and like the first time I talked to him on a stream, yeah, like just the entitlement, yeah, that and like the way he's giving dating advice to his following as well, like saying like, yeah, of course, guys, like if you invite a girl over, of course she should expect that you guys are gonna have sex, like of course. It just that like the perpetuation of such like a harmful mindset to have when interacting with other humans, that immediately because someone of the opposite sex is at your house, that means you can have sex with them. That's such a dangerous position
Like, okay,
to
she
put people
probably
in.
okay.
That makes women not want to meet up with guys at their house.
Yeah, it hurts men too. Yeah, because the
Yeah,
pendulum. But okay, you show up at my house. Okay, you probably want to have sex, but I'm not gonna fucking assume. Okay, you know what I mean, right? Like,
right.
there's like so what I do in that situation is like I will make like I will make I'll make a comment, or like I'll a prod. I'll do something subtle or something, or
Yeah, test the water.
maybe blunt, and
Yeah, like,
then
hey, do you want to fuck?
yeah,
Like,
I've literally done
yeah,
that. I've literally done that. Like, do you want to fuck or not? Because I need to know. Okay, because and then we can move on.
it's on my mind. Like, I
Yes,
can go to the bathroom real quick. Just give me a minute, and then we can play Super Smash Bros. Like,
yes,
yeah, like, that's okay.
yeah,
But you don't get to rape someone for that. Like,
no,
you can't justify rape
no,
that way. That
no.
doesn't work.
It's
Yeah.
but he would say it's not justifying rape. It's saying he's trying to say that she should know better.
It's her
But she
fault.
shouldn't. But she here's oh man,
Victim blaming.
Katie had the same argument with him. It's okay. He's right that like if she was completely oblivious, there is truth to saying like that is obliviousness. But
Right.
also, she should be entitled to be that oblivious. She shouldn't have to. She should not have to worry about. She should not have to. She should not have to worry about that. It's actually
Right.
good. We like. It's good. So I didn't. And it's a weird analogy, but I didn't know until I started streaming what a Jew looked like. And now everybody has made me know. Now when I see people every day, I like, oh, that person's a Jew. That person's Jewish, and I was innocent. I was oblivious to that, and I feel bad that that innocence has been taken away from me. And
Right.
for a woman to feel safe going to a man's house, not worrying about if he wants to have sex or not, that should be something we cherish, and that is a
Right.
good thing. That's progress in a way.
Women should be able to have guy friends where it's like if they're like just having fun, they should be able to hang out for longer. Like even like a shoulder to cry on, whatever, like whatever type of friendship dynamic that takes sex out of the equation, that should be allowed to exist without our brains being so focused on like attaining this goal of like having sex with another person. I think that just like corrupts the waters of it. And yeah, it's like if guys who like honestly, like I did this when I was younger. I'm autistic. I would go online. I would try and figure out because I would get bullied in school and be like, what am I doing wrong? How do I interact with other humans? So I would use the internet as a reference to like how do I interact with other humans. So yeah, like guys who are coming online like, oh well, so what does it mean when a girl does this, or what should this be, or whatever, and they're like hearing from someone who's much older than them, well in their 30s, saying, yep, this is how you do it, and I'm poly and I have this relationship and I know what I'm talking about. um
I like how you rolled
but
up your
yeah.
sleeves there.
Yeah, I mean, you should feel safe in those situations, and something Destiny can talk about a lot is how women should be more vocal and they should like speak up more and they should assert themselves more in those situations and say what they want. But you have to acknowledge though, when women constantly have that expectation to be this or be that, have sex with people otherwise they're not valuable, it gets really scary to speak up, especially if they have a previous history of being assaulted or anything like that. To some people, like I've been at this point in my life where you just shut down and you don't say no anymore and you kind of just go along with whatever. And that's a trauma response. And that's something to be acknowledged and not to necessarily
Yeah,
be shamed as if
we
women
don't.
are all accountable for not doing that enough.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
women do need to do that more,
Yeah.
and women who don't, um, it goes by the individual. Like maybe there are women that need someone to shake them and be like, no, just fucking speak up. Okay, there's
Yeah.
some women like that, and then there's some women that need to be given a like love and like we want to hear what you have to say. No,
Yeah,
we actually
like
care. We
yeah.
actually want to listen. Like you're not that we're not like because us yelling at women to tell them to speak up is them still doing what we men want them to do. Now
Right.
she's only speaking up, and this is something I've experienced a lot in sex, where I have had so much interactions, not like usually like not like direct sex, because usually when this happens, I don't even get hard. But I've had so much interactions, sexual interactions with women, where they are so unable to have agency, and I never get a feeling that they actually are advocating for what they want, and I feel like they're always just trying to please me and trying to figure out what I want the whole time.
Mm.
And then like it's just like, oh, boner dead, okay, I don't believe you.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Yeah. It's like for me being able to be assertive in what I want as far as that goes is like it's taken a lot of I almost became a lesbian. It's taken a lot of like guys that I've been with like doing those check-ins and being like, "What do you want?" and like actually
yeah,
like genuinely wanting me to express that rather than just like shaming me for not expressing it. And yeah, just like having those check-ins to make sure people are good and also like empowering them saying
yeah,
like, "Hey, you can actually like be the one who like takes control and like
yeah. Waterboarding you
I
until
want
you
you to
tell
tell
me
me
what
what to
you
do."
want. Like you're just gonna say you're like if I torture you until you say what you want, you're not saying what you want. You're saying what you think I want you to say.
Yeah. 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 Yeah, I actually would love to make more content online about stuff like this because it's I get asked very often like how do you get girls? And it's just so nuanced because there's just so many ways in which you can treat someone to either make them feel safe or just kind of reinforce their trauma. And just with women, if you're like struggling with them, like obviously telling them to kill themselves is probably not the way to like uh connect with people.
Well, clearly it is, I guess.
But there's a lot of yeah, like honestly sometimes people kind of need to be told what to do in that sense or what like the other side wants. But I don't know, at the end of it I think it yeah, it comes down to like personally between the two or however many people what they've experienced in life and their ability to communicate authentically with what they want and need.
But
And a lot of people just perform.
the way that those men what those men need isn't someone preaching at them online. I think they need so women learn what men want really easily because we'll just fucking tell them, and as soon as they become sexually active, they learn really fast. But men don't ever get the experience, or very rarely get the experience until like maybe they're like late 20s, early 30s, of a woman really be advocating for what she wants and going into a relationship saying like do this, do this, do this. And so like the pendulum, like that's why men want to fucking scream at women. That's why men like me and apparently like Destiny and stuff just want to grab a woman, fucking tell me what the fuck you want. Just fucking tell me. And it's like because you could have fucking saved my whole sexual like my whole early 20s. I could have had it all figured out if you fucking would just say what you want. And that's why men want that, and I think that that's something that men need too. Men need women to do that because they need to know, because men don't even know what women want. They're like, oh yeah, like the
Yeah.
clit, right?
Then
It's
they're
like
guessing and then they can just get frustrated and like yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. I had a partner at one point. They were trying to do a thing and I was giggling because it tickled. And they took it so offensively that they got angry at me and like left the house because I giggled. Because they weren't doing it wrong. I was just ticklish in that moment, but they just felt it. They perceived it as them doing something wrong, so they reacted with frustration and they just left. But yeah, I don't know. It's
Yeah.
like I think communication can solve a lot of things, and sometimes as far as that thing goes, like maybe step-by-step instructions, or just like asking them in the moment what they want, because that can change from moment to moment. It's not always like fixed. Especially if you have a girl with BPD. They got multiple personalities in there, you know what I mean? Like people are just different from day to day too, and they change. And yeah, women aren't a monolith, and men aren't a monolith either.
Girl with BPD is likely to confuse what she wants with what you want. And I think that's part of why women have BPD, is because of this dynamic.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Your giggling story reminded me of one time I was living in Boston in an apartment, and my roommate, there's like a door and it could hear everything. And he had this girl over, and they are like doing like really, really, really loud raspberries, and so like I know they were fucking, so but like they were doing really loud raspberries and then cracking up hysterically, and they were taking turns and did that for like hours and hours and hours. Yeah,
I love that.
Yeah.
See, and yeah, like have fun with it. Don't take it so personally.
It's play. It's sex is
like,
play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for the wonderful conversation, Smeth.
Thank you for helping me put it into it. Because I needed to end eventually.
Yeah. I gotta get some drink and food in me and do more things.
My lips are getting chapped.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. Thank you, buddy.
Nice talking.
I appreciate you. It was nice to talk to you too.
Nice to meet you. Bye. All right. Let's fix this. Gets right in there. It's right now. It's a perfect size. It's a perfect size, and I'm gonna zoom in into me. So I was going to be talking to Mikey Stir, and then my computer broke, and I have a job and had to work. And this last minute came together. It was a great stream. Still going to talk to Mikey at some point. He took the time to look at some of my content, and he wants to interview me about how I engage online. I have a lot of different fingers dipped in a lot of different pies, and I have a weird way of being like intimate, but also involved in communities that are very like intimate, and I'm just spread out in a lot of different ways, and I'm not exactly sure what he's going to say. He also said he might have some criticisms, and I had made sure he knew like I'm ready for that. I'm looking forward to it. He sounds like a smart guy and a good talker. So that's going to be good. You're welcome for the stream, I guess. And thank you for watching. See you guys next time. Take a nice dose of smethadone and have a great sleep. And when you wake up in the morning, take a nice snort of methamphetamine before you go off to work. Have a good night.